I'm going to call to order this February 11, 2020 workshop of the Board of Supervisors. Mrs. Carmack, would you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, and Larry, would you do the invocation?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Lord, we ask you tonight for wisdom and some farsightedness as we look out across the future years and do our best to plan for what might be ahead. And even though that is not with certainty, we can at least make our plans and then put it in your hands. And we thank you so much for the process of government at the national and state level, and we ask for wisdom in those that are up the ladder from us a bit. And thank you for keeping our community safe in the past week with the weather and all. We pray for the safety of our citizens, our first responders, and anyone who's in need of recovering from health in our community. And we thank you for this time of friendship and fellowship and doing the people's business. Amen.
Amen.
Do we have any requests to postpone agenda items, additions, deletions, or changes in the order of presentation?
Motion to approve.
Do I have a second? Second. Comments on motion? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, at this time, we'll have our first public comment period. Anyone wishing to come forward, please give your name and your address. We allocate 3 minutes. If you're speaking for a group, you have 5 minutes. Seeing everybody rush to the table to speak, I'll close public comment. Let me introduce our facilitator for the evening. Ken, welcome. I think everybody knows Ken, but for those who in the audience that don't know Ken is a supervisor. This is Ken's 3rd term in Peterson County. Understand Ken's not here in his capacity as a supervisor. He's here as a consultant facilitating us on the strategic vision and strategic plan for this county. Ken has wide experience in this field. He's also the author of a book. Ken, would you please hold that up? So, Ken has freely shared this.
There's no handle on it.
And Ken has been a guest speaker literally across the country on the Goochland miracle, if you will. So a lot of good things have happened right next door. And we decided that we wanted somebody that's really combat tested. And by the way, Ken is a United States Military Academy graduate. Sorry, Larry. Larry's going to work with you this evening.
I promise.
Ken has also had a career in the United States Army. He retired as a captain, I believe.
Yes, sir.
And Ken also has experience on Wall Street. So he's a very accomplished individual, and we're very pleased to have him here this evening. Again, welcome to you.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Take it away.
Take it away, and so you'll know, we're suspending rules for this part of the meeting because we want a conversation around this table with Ken. So feel free to opine, cut in, whatever the facilitator, request, he's in charge.
Great. Well, thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, members of the board, County Administrator Charlene, county staff, citizens of Powhatan County, those that are either here or listening in, welcome and thank you for the opportunity to participate in the development of this strategic plan. It's certainly an honor and a pleasure to be here, and I'd like to first congratulate this board for recognizing the value of the strategic plan. A lot of boards don't recognize the value, they dismiss it, either don't have one, don't want to invest the time, effort, energy, or treasure. And when they don't, they lose out on an awful lot of value going forward. So I'd like to congratulate this board for recognizing the value of the strategic plan. The strategic plan is where it all starts, and before you get started on it as a newly elected team, you kind of want to know what the ground rules are. When I went to the West Point Military Academy, the first day there, I said, I'd like to know the ground rules. Can I keep my hair? And they said, sure, you can keep it in your foot locker. So I said, all right, now we know the ground rules. Now we know where we're coming from. But I purposely didn't hand out previous editions of strategic plan or vision. There's been an awful lot of work done in the past, but I'd like to come to this meeting unencumbered by previous assumptions or decisions and engage in a brainstorming session with an open mind. If we don't get a full brainstorm, maybe a brain mist, but some kind of brain something going on here where we can get some progress made on these sides with an open mind. Too often you get caught up in the day-to-day. Putting out brush fires, you're very much a reactionary mode. So it's good every once in a while to just pause and see where you're going. We've all been in job interviews, and one of the questions they always ask is, where do you see yourself in 10 years, 15 years? Now, I know this board probably sees themselves right where they are, 10 or 15 years down the road. But
No, I just hope to be here.
That would be the Palatine miracle.
but rather than put that question to any individual here, we're really putting it to the county. County of Palatine, where do you see yourself in 10 to 15 years? And that helps form the basis for a strategic vision. Now, you're in the middle of a budget process, as are all counties, and you're going to be asked to set priorities, allocate scarce financial resources, and it helps to be able to do that if you've got very specific goals and a clear vision for the county as you're allocating those resources. If you're like most counties, there's a lot of birds cheeping in the nest, and often there's not enough worms to go around. And so you've got to kind of allocate, and it's a tough decision to make, but it helps if you've got a vision or guiding principles to do that. Now, the purpose of this workshop, as I understand it, is severalfold. One is, as I mentioned, to engage in strategic thinking, which doesn't happen often enough around Virginia these days, but also to develop a shared vision among the board. Recently, you were all elected, and congratulations on that. But that day, you were a collection of elected individuals. And you're going through the transition now from that day to a cohesive, high-performing team. And through that transition, brainstorming sessions like this can help, where you share information about yourselves, where you're coming from with each other, and help develop a consensus around a shared vision. Now, you won't agree on everything, no one ever does, but a general consensus. If you agree on everything across the board, you've got groupthink, and that's not healthy either. So this should be a safe environment for individuals to bring up opposing views without fear of repercussion. And disagree, get that on the table now and work through that. And that will help get to a consensus. So I'd encourage you all to do that. So there's a team building aspect to this as well. And of course, the bottom line is, coming out of this workshop eventually is to give birth to a strategic plan that is unique to Powhatan. Every county is unique. Every county has unique citizens, unique geography, unique natural resources, unique sources of tax revenue, unique expenditures, unique demand on county services. And this process will be a custom tailored, custom design, not a one size fits all, but a custom tailored strategic plan for Powhatan that is unique to Powhatan. Now, my role as the chair mentioned in this is as a facilitator. I'm not a player on the field. You guys are the players on the field that advance the ball. I'm merely a facilitator, and I will ask a series of questions because I'm not bringing answers, I'm bringing questions, and to try to draw out and elicit thoughtful information and insights from each of you that you can then bounce back and forth with each other. You've just come off campaigns where you've engaged a lot with citizens, a large number of citizens throughout the county. And so you have the most current information about where citizens and business leaders and landowners are. You know where the people are at this point. So you bring that to this table. And that's why you're going to be the ones to advance the ball down the court. Now, I've handed out an agenda to provide some framework to our discussion, but it's just that, it's a loose framework. And the goal for today would be to get through items 1 through 4, which basically is a situational awareness. You know, where are we? Gather some analysis, gather some intelligence, do some bit of analysis, and kind of form the foundation for a strategic plan. So the plan is built on rock and not on sand. You've got to build a foundation first. So that's really what today is all about. And then, again, depending on the progress, we can go as fast or as slow as you like. Day 2 of this kind of thing would be to review the progress from day 1 and also start to develop an actual strategic plan and build that on that foundation. Day 3 would be to review that draft strategic plan, finalize it as need be, and then talk about next steps and where we go from here in the process for adoption and post-adoption utilization of the plan. So that's just a general framework for how this discussion can take place. Again, I'll look to the chair and the board for guidance on this. We can go faster or slower, but that's a general framework, if you will. So that's about all of the administrative background information that I'm going to share before we kick off. But let me just pause for a second and see if there are any questions about this process, or if you'd like to learn any more about Good Government Ventures, there's a little bit of a puff piece in the back of your handout. If you want to learn more about my background, again, there's some information in the back of the handout. There's contact information. But if you need any more of that, there's some there. If not, feel free to reach out, but I don't want to waste the time on all that puff piece. So questions before we kick off? We're already in the field. So. All right, so far so good. All right, well then, that said, we'll go ahead and maybe turn to the agenda page if you've all got that out already. We're going to start with the easy ones first. The easy question: why develop a strategic plan? The fact that we're here tonight indicates that you see some value in it, but I'd like to get a little bit of an understanding, each of you, about the value that you see, why we're going through this process. Is it a valuable process? Should we do this or not? Is it a good investment of money? So, Mr. Chairman, your indulgence, I might even ask if we just go around clockwise for the first question and just get people's general perception. So, Joe, if you'd like to kick us off and just say, why do you think the county needs a strategic plan? What value do you see in having it? Would be useful.
Focus, and it'll help you define success.
Okay, focus and define success. Great, sounds good.
Well, focus again, we have a finite amount of time and a finite amount of resources. If we spread them over things that don't provide us with the largest payback, we're wasting. Once again, focus, the major issue, and recognizing that we have finite time, finite resources. Right.
So sharpen the focus and allocation of resources to make sure the top priorities are addressed. Okay, great, thank you.
I'm going to go me too on the first two supervisors, but also to fail the plan is to plan to fail. I've always been a big proponent of it. You have to know where you're going to get there. So a strategic plan, going back to what Karen said, it does provide you that focus. Back to what Bill says, and then the energy for that focus and be able to resource that focus through the capital improvement plan, through the budget process is all very important. And I like what you said at the beginning, Kim, because going through the budget process, somebody's done this now. Going on 7th month, this will be my, 9th year. Wow. We haven't always done that. We haven't always focused on, okay, how are we going to resource ourselves to accomplish the things that we want to accomplish as a county, and use that vision, that focus to focus in on how we want to do the allocation of those tax dollars. So I'm 2 cents.
Allocation of resources, focus, and let you know where you're going before you get on the train.
Yeah, it's always
so make sure it takes you to the
helpful.
destination you're headed to. It's always nice. You know, the wrong train goes the wrong way.
I've actually done that.
Okay, we'll see.
I can tell you a story about Austria.
Yeah, we do that later.
Yeah, wound up in the wrong town.
Thank you for that.
Mike, you're right. We'll keep you away from the trains.
Please.
It's not.
I think that, the destination part of it is the real part. Where do we want to go? Where are we going to be? Where do we think we're going to be? Where do we want to be? Then the approach is, how do we get there? When you get to the focus part of it, I think that, everybody here is focused without any doubt. The question is where do we want to go? How do we want to get there? How do we really get there? There's citizens that say various things to all of us as we were out, even in meetings. And, it's our role to come in here and implement their wishes. So I think that, to me, that's the goal. Where is it we want to go? how are we going to get there? Everything else sort of comes into play. If our destination is the West Coast, what's the best route for us to go? North, south, central, straight across? Are we going to go for the vision, the view? Are we going to go for the beauty? Are we going to go for the weather? How are we going to get there? That's my
Mike, those are excellent points, and we are going to spend during this workshop session a lot of time on where do you want to go, where do you think you should go, and how do you get there. Those are two similar questions. So, great answer.
This is why I like local government. Powhatan is home to the people we serve. And unlike state government or federal government, we have the opportunity to create Powhatan into the home that our people want. And without a strategic plan, we can't do that.
And the environmental home is, and you get there. Good. Yeah, the unfortunate part about going west is everybody probably took a lot of your answers beforehand.
Not at all.
Okay.
I wouldn't have thought of any of them.
Right. That sounds good. So home, we'll talk about what home is and how you define that as we go forward as well. Okay, that was the easy one. And again, the value of this is going to depend on participation. And so I'm glad to see that you all come to this with open mind, willing to participate, because that's really where you get the value. And feel free to share whatever's on your mind. Right, we're going to shift from that easy warm-up question from why develop a strategic plan. Obviously, you all see value in it, and that's great. And we have some ideas about what we'd like to accomplish. The next one is to develop a shared vision on, and there is no right or wrong shared vision. There's just different visions, different versions of the vision. And to kind of form the basis for that, I might ask, and I'll throw this open, we'll go around the table every time. What is it that makes Powhatan unique? What is it that makes Powhatan unique? If you had to describe Powhatan to someone different from the other counties, what would you say that Powhatan makes you unique?
Start with location.
Location? Okay. What
Where we
about some
are
of
in
this
the
data?
metropolitan area, where we're not.
Jot some of this down if you don't mind. Okay, location makes you unique, proximity to the state capital, bounding on a river, there's a lot of different aspects of that.
Right, and if you're Hanover County and sitting on the inside of the crescent, okay, that's one thing. If you're sitting, as we are, kind of on the outside knuckle of the metropolitan area, then that presents different opportunities and problems.
How about a location geographical location? And would you consider your geographical location to be fortuitous or something that needs to be overcome? Is that something that you view as a
Depends on the girls.
I've invested my life here.
Yeah.
So we'll just go with geography. Geographical location makes you unique, so that's great. Other things that make you unique.
I would say, I think our citizens have a sense of pride, and perhaps on a little skewed, but they seem to have a sense of pride that I don't quite see like in Chesterfield or other localities. I don't know if pride is the right word.
If I may, the word community comes to
Maybe that's a
mind.
better word. Yeah. Pride is-
Sense of place.
Yeah,
Pride comes before a fall, is that one of the things? So we say sense of community,
yeah, community, that's better.
and that's not something you see somewhere else. You have a unique sense of community.
I think it is somewhat, not saying that it exists anywhere, but I think it's stronger.
We have a strong history, I've said this on multiple occasions, of volunteerism and community service, public service, and that's kind of what I see as defined Powhatan a lot through the years. I mean, we still have a significant volunteer fire rescue here in the county. You know, I've heard people say previously that, this was dying out in other locations. People have predicted their demise in Powhatan County for years. And what I've seen is a revival of anything here recently. Went to Pine Creek's annual dinner the other night, and I really came away energized being in the presence of the volunteers. They have a great esprit de corps. great sense of serving their community. And I couldn't have been more proud of them for what they do for the county.
Fantastic, that's great. That's great. So service to others, a sense of community, volunteering, that's those are all great attributes.
Commissioners right here who are good examples of that.
Yes, indeed.
Good deal.
Thank you.
Well, they're not in it for the money.
You can't count if they are. I think the village area we have makes us pretty unique in regards to the historical values that are there. And it sort of plays off of Karen's part there, the sense of community that exists. That's, to me, that's sort of the heartbeat where it starts with the county. So I think that, that plays a big role in terms of making us unique.
Okay, great. Thank you for that. Appreciate that. Anything else that you can think of that makes your county unique?
We still have dark sky nights and open spaces. Back to the geography, if you will, in a sense, but these are important things.
Okay, dark sky.
Dark sky nights and open spaces. And our citizens have told us they revere open spaces.
Yes.
Okay, I could broaden that to natural beauty, natural resource, natural, whether it's the sky, the water, the trees, the natural beauty is something that you value and makes you unique from other counties.
And we have two rivers as opposed to the county north of us.
We have the Appomattox River, we have Interstate 64.
Yeah.
You got a little preach too. Get partial credit for that. Nature, natural beauty, rivers. Then that, of course, recreational opportunities and stuff, things like that. Other things that make you unique, geographic proximity to the state capital, your natural beauty, volunteerism, sense of community.
Schools.
Excellent school. What is it about your school system that's different from other public school systems? It's better. They're excellent.
Yeah, that excellent would be the word that the Angie and I bring up into that.
Tim, one of the other things that we are in Palatine County that I think makes us unique is that we, for years, have been the workforce for the Richmond region.
Okay.
The jobs have always been in Richmond, in Raccoon, and Chesterfield. They haven't been in Palatine County. So we've been the people that have gone to work at DuPont, Reynolds, Philip Morris, and provided the region with this workforce. When I was down at the PDC, Mr. Crum, who was the CEO, I actually had him do the trip generation out of the county to the destinations, where we were going to, which counties. It was pretty informing, because once you see it, you realize that that traffic in the morning going out of the county, it's the workforce for the Richmond region.
It sure is. I think it's still up on your economic development website, there's a migration in and out on a daily basis. But that's what you make another good point, Mr. Chair, which when we're asking for uniqueness, it's not necessarily positive or negative, it's just different. So if there are folks leaving the county every day and you're a bedroom community for others, that has a lot of implications. It's not necessarily good or bad, but it's unique. And so that kind of thing, so growing your mind's not to just things you're proud of, but uniqueness, things that are different, could be things that you need to.
And in the Richmond region, I believe, if I'm correct, you can correct me if I'm wrong, we're the only jurisdiction without an interstate.
That makes you unique then. So you don't have the cloverleaf interchanges with the interstate.
We've got a small piece of 288, but again, a very small piece. But we don't have these 64 and 9 times.
Okay, how about airport?
No,
No airport. How
there are some
about,
people that land in their backyard.
We got a bateau.
hot air ballooning?
No, literally land in the backyard, you know.
Land cost too much.
no interstate for ground transportation, no airport for air transportation, no rails for rail transportation.
Wait a minute, we have a
Train
railroad,
stations.
we don't have a stop, but District Two has a railroad. And actually, seriously, over the last 5 or 6 years, every now and then, somebody comes up with a possible idea of using that railroad. And I don't think the railroad is opposed to the idea, if we can make it work.
So it's been abandoned tracks or?
No, it's used. There used to be quite a bit of, there used to be a whistle stop in hauling freight, but nothing now. But the track itself is used.
Okay. Sometimes abandoned tracks are taken up in trail
So
systems.
this thing on that Conecuh Road was where they looked at buying that thing years ago.
Okay, anything else that makes,
We have an interesting population imbalance. Chesterfield County sitting there with over 300,000 people. Here we sit right next to it, adjacent to it, went just shy of 29,000. That interface is a very unique part of Paladin. As we push back.
so is it
You have
too strange to say that the developing edge is coming your way? Is that with all that population density and your,
It's leaning on us.
so pressures? Okay. Developmental pressures. It's because Powhatan is a beautiful place to live, work, and play, and other people want what you have, which is Powhatan, and so there's some pressures.
And we have a lot of
People
land.
trying to come in, yeah, okay. Okay.
Again, as you know, it's another thing that you found out in consulting in the region. Another unique thing is we have a very high residential / commercial ratio. Ours is 92:8, I believe. New Kent's is 90:10.
Yes, that's,
Okay.
so residential versus retail or commercial, the breakout is, uses around 92,
92:8 is.
92 residential with 8. We'll talk about this later, but a more steady state is somewhere around 75-25 or 70-30, somewhere around there.
And Henrico is the only one that comes close to that. They've got
Very close to that. When I started, we were 85-15, now we're 80-20, but we're trying to get to 75-25. It's a heavy lift. We're talking about percent of the assessed value of the county. I think your total assessed value of your county is around $4 billion plus or minus. So 1% of that's $40 billion. And so when you're trying to move that needle, you need hundreds of millions of dollars with one, with zero with the other to move that needle. So it's a very tough, heavy lift. But over time, again, steady state is more like 75-25%.
Another thing that makes us, I believe, unique is that people like what we've got here, whether it's the citizens that came here, 10, 20 years ago, they came here because they like what we've got, the quality of life. People come here from other localities, they come here because they want the lifestyle that we have in Powhatan County, a small county feel. And they like getting away from where they came from. Because although I still railway traffic, for example, on 7-Eleven, in a lot of cases, the people coming here, it's still better to them than where they came from, if you can believe that. We have a hard time accepting that, but the fact is, they like what we've got here, and we like what we have here.
And that's a unique aspect. Do you see any of the, okay, now that I'm here, let's go up the ladder on the boat?
Oh, yeah.
Now that I'm on board.
We're very welcoming to people who have been here at least 20 years.
No,
We'll talk about that later.
Yeah.
We'll talk more about that later.
It's not that we want to pull up the line on people. We want to be able to develop, and you always hear the words responsibly. I had to go to Tato's to pick up a ham for a family who suffered a loss. So I wanted to cook ham, so I had to go over to Brandonville, but I had to go down to Charlotte Colony. It was like Chesterfield has never woke up to the fact that, all this development is going to have an impact. So I go into Tato's and Chesterfield Observer talks about The new superintendent of schools is asking for another 100 million. Okay, and now you've got all these schools where they're gonna be going in for bond referendum. So it's not that we want to close the door, we want to be able to synchronize growth with their ability to pay for it, and to also keep the things that we value in the county.
That's an important point is, growth and development, the pressures are gonna be there. We talk about managing it, smart growth, intelligent growth, properly managed growth. And when people are concerned about that, but they're concerned that they don't wanna lose these unique special attributes. They don't wanna see a deterioration in the quality of services in the schools, or they don't wanna see a deterioration of the beautiful nature of the rivers. They don't wanna see deterioration. So the challenge then becomes.
Unsafe congestion on their rural roads.
Yes. So then the challenge becomes, how do you manage all that in the face of these mounting pressures and the desire to maintain that? That's part of what this brainstorming session is going to be all about. How do we do that? There is no right answer or wrong answer. There's just ways to do it. And okay, well, I've run out of paper, so we're going to call it quits on the unique attributes and shift gears to another question. But this has been very helpful to kind of describe just big picture. What is Paladin? What makes you different? What kind of county are you? And I should take this page off and get some clean sheets here. I'm making this up as we go, so there we go. Right here. Okay, all right, now let's shift gears to another question. We all know that perception is reality. Right and wrong are different. There are perceptions out there about Powhatan. So this question that I'm going to ask is, what do you think the current perceptions are that are out there, right, wrong, or different, about the county leadership, about the different county services, about fire rescue schools? What are the perceptions out there about development, economic development? Part of this is to try to identify blind spots if you have them, because we all think everything's great, but some other folks might not. And so it's to try and draw out blind spots, perceptions that maybe need to be addressed. In other counties, it's been a lack of public trust. How do you close that gap? In others, it's been a gap in public services. How do you close that gap? In some cases, it's been just a perceived difference. We perceive our schools are not quality, we need to bring them up to speed. And then you look at the test scores, the graduation rates, and you go, oh, geez, the reputation was that we had lousy schools. It turns out you have great schools. So those are the kind of things, if there's anything out there like that where there might be a perception that needs to be addressed, close the perception gap with reality, those kind of things. So are there anything out there now that you think of that, in fact, what is the perception? Is the perception that things are going well? Or that certain areas need attention? What are the perceptions that are out there, Mark, in the county?
Politically, the citizens would tell you the prior board was dysfunctional.
Okay, so the perception is,
Leadership was dysfunctional.
and the school's still out of the new leadership? I mean, don't know yet? You have to prove yourself. So the concern, I'll just put it as a concern or a question or a perception that with strong county leadership, or
I think people have, and I'll just share with you the comments I received, including going back to Saturday night at dinner. People are optimistic that, they've got a good board. And they communicated that to me repeatedly. People say, well, I think we've got a good board this time. So, the bar has been set for us to, perform and meet those expectations.
They see that as a change.
sure. In sessions like this, they help reinforce that you come with an open mind and listen to the citizens and bring their interests in and represent their interests and do the best for the county, put the county before yourself kind of thing. These kind of sessions don't.
And most important, listen to what the people have told us. Whether it's in the survey where they said the number one thing they were interested in was the preservation of open space.
There's not much more important than listening to the citizens. This is their county, they pay the taxes, they own the land, it's their representatives who are elected to represent them. So that's one of the unique things perhaps that could be about Palatine going forward, is that the citizens are in charge and the leadership doesn't turn a deaf ear.
Well, that's what the Constitution of Virginia says. That's-
Yes, it's two-dimensional constitution says to do that.
Yes.
Yes. But at various levels of government, in various counties, a lot of times folks don't listen. I would suggest that if you turn a deaf ear and allow daylight to create between what you do and what the citizens want you to do, you do so at your own peril. That's kind of where you get in trouble. So making sure that no daylight develops, that you're representing their interests, and the closer you can stay in touch, the more you can listen and execute for them on their behalf. I'll certainly do so. You get off my soapbox here. You're supposed to do a lot of talking.
Yeah. You said it better than I did.
I think we do have the perception that we're not terrible business friendly or government friendly.
Okay.
Now, I'm not saying that's with everybody, but I think all of us have heard that.
Could be confusion at best.
It may not be true, it may not be the
Exactly.
desire of this board, but the reputation might be out there. It may have been created in the past because of regulatory environment, or in the past because of actions the board took. Or sometimes it takes a while for those perceptions to be revisited and work off. But if these will all, by the way, these will kind of help us form action plans on how to address, actual shortcomings, perceived shortcomings, sometimes just close the information gap, those kind of things.
I think it's a general perception that we have good schools. Yeah.
Okay. Right. Ned, go ahead, I'm sorry.
We've got a general perception that we're a conservative county.
Conservative, okay, in what fashion?
Uh,
Fiscally conservative or politically?
Politically.
So political leaning. Obviously, you're elected to serve everybody, and you do so.
Door after door, knocking on people, said, I'm happy to be here. I left Chesterfield County. I like being in Powhatan. People like to live.
Okay. And the perception around that would be, this is a,
That it is different from, there's less congestion, rural.
and finally, that word rural comes up. The perception is that a rural county is a good place to live.
For some people, for some people, of course. Not everybody wants to live in rural.
Right. Okay.
They're downtown.
County is a rural county.
But feeling development pressure.
Conservative, rural. No, the questions come up again, I'm sure they'll come up again after this. No questions, okay? How are we doing on describing the perception here? Good schools, conservative, rural, developmental pressures, questionably whether the business friendly or not, listen to citizens.
There's a growing perception that we may have a problem, with traffic.
Traffic congestion. Okay. So congestion, building going forward, getting worse going forward kind of thing, pressures.
Particularly in peak hours, VDOT will tell us, the roads work great in between peak hours or after peak hours. But unfortunately, peak hours is when we go to work and when we come home.
Yeah, when they come out to do a warrant, they'll lay down a strip and then count the average number of cars over a 48-hour period, and says no problem.
Works fine.
It's 110 this summer and minus 110 in winter, on average, you're fine, but it's still uncomfortable all the time. Okay, traffic congestion and then maybe.
I think that, there's a perception through some in the county that the spending of the taxpayers' dollars has not been done in a very wise manner on some issues.
There hasn't been good stewardship of the taxpayer dollars on various projects, whether it be funding in the budget. items funded in the budget, or other items being funded, maybe in the capital improvement plan.
So the fiscal responsibility is,
Good stewardship, has
stewardship.
always been there for us.
I would say that we don't have the most attractive development. Not only are we not resident friendly, but we don't have good looking development either.
okay,
So,
okay.
some of the appearance of some of the developments.
Architecture, the age,
All the above, architecture, age.
Age and, we haven't always enforced our ordinances the way we should have. So some things have been allowed to develop over time. And I will say this board has now started to deal with some of these issues.
quality.
When we came, I used to use the example, those attention-getting flags. I don't know who the salesman was for that particular company, but I'm sure he got an all-expense vacation as a bonus. Because when he came through Powhatan County, he sold one of those signs, I think, to every business, the wood flags. The ones with like a big feather. So everybody had one, okay? So when you came into Powhatan County from Chesterfield, it looked like High Carmel.
Yeah, that's, under the zoning category, does the zoning permit that, prohibit that?
We don't permit that. So that, to the credit of, this board, and I think also towards the end with the other board, we began to address those types of things, and that was where we realized the values of having rules, because without rules, you don't have good development. If you don't enforce those rules, just like in neighborhoods, when you get the first cracked window, then things starts going downhill. So we've always said Route 60 is a goal thing where we wanted economic development. So if you don't have a good thoroughfare plan and you don't have development standards, people are not going to want to come here and invest their money when they know their investment's not being protected.
So code enforcement, the perception is that it's not as vigorously enforced and
Well, I've heard some people say, well, anything goes on Route 60. Well, I suggest to you that's anathema to what David Williams, and I think this board is. Because we care very much about what comes into Powhatan County.
sure, and some counties will identify corridors, entrance corridors, like Route 60, you come out of one county into your
Did
county.
y'all do that on Richmond?
So 522, whenever you're coming in from another jurisdiction, folks want to feel like, okay, now I'm in Powhatan. Now it's different. Somehow it's better, it's village, it's rural, whatever, but you get a feel. So we, put some horse corral fencing and some signage and pitched roofs. In our entrance corridor, 500 feet on each side, there's specific, height levels of quality materials, use of pitched roof, dormers, cupolas, so, things that would give you a little different feel in a strip mall. But that's in the code and that's code enforcement. So you can create corridors like that that says this is our entrance corridor. The rest of the roads, but this is where we need to feel like now I'm about 10 now.
You try to make a really good first impression.
It's all about branding.
It is.
First impressions.
Correct. I agree.
But reinforcement, everything from your county logos to your signs on your secondary roads, just everything reinforces some feature, whether it's equestrian or rural or what have you.
It is a branding thing in how you present the county from those who are first coming into the county. Whereas us who are in the room, we come to this county every day, we don't pay attention to that. We just drive on in and we're not looking. But there's people that are coming to this county every day that's new. And you want to have that impression, that first impression of making it warm, friendly, welcome. Now, to go a little bit, maybe in a lot of instances, the way easy. Having been the small business owner on what is called the gold vein, it's more like the rust vein. Okay. The small business owners, there's more of them than there are Amazon or IBM or any Microsoft in Powhatan County on Route 60. These small business owners, we have Walmart, that'll be our big business owner. They have a liking to these pennant flags, and so, because they generate the same thing you're basically talking about when you want to enter into the county. And if you look, they do exactly what Dave says, they're attention seeking, and they make you look, and then all of a sudden, wow, that's where I want to go. You know, I want to stop and get a sandwich. I want to go over here and look at a car. So there's a little bit of a teeter-totter that happens there, and you can get back into a good point that Karen brought up, our business-friendly reputation. Well, I know with our EDA, they talk about BRE, business retention, what else? Expansion. So those are things that, from the outside, you want the county to look, and you want it to be neat, and you don't want it to be the words that I've heard, because you hear all of this. Out as you go around, you don't want it to look like a Jeff Davis. I just think that I would like to think there's some room there to help those small business people out. As much as, you have all these things that come up with signage and banners. I don't know what the answer is, but I think that plays a role into upsetting some of our small business owners on Route 6.
Sure. Okay, that's an excellent point. Small business retention, expansion on 60. That's one of your main entrance corridors, so you want to, look at that. Well, let me just, throw some things out for consideration. Let's say coming in, you wanted a rural village feel, so things that look like barns or cupolas or dormers. And so McDonald's wants to come in and go, well, you can't do those gold markets, that's not part of our village rural concept. Then they probably don't come in because they're branding too, right?
Absolutely.
You're branding
Oh,
60,
Yep.
and they're branding their brand. And so when you introduce things like that overlay district that says, we want businesses to be here, but we don't want a lot of big signs like strip malls with market, just a row of signage. We don't want anybody to know you're there. You're like, well, how are we going to sell anything if no one knows we're here? So they'll want maximum exposure, maximum signage. They'll want flashing video signage and all that. Right? We're over here, buy from us, right? Or they want ghost arches, or they want some other facade that maybe. So as you begin to develop what it is you want to see there, small businesses, for instance, if you tell them you can't use corrugated tin roofs, you've got to have brick and stone and high quality materials. Well, if it's a small business, it doesn't generate a lot of tax revenue because that can't justify. So I'm just throwing out, as you balance this, and you say, we want this in our corridors, we want small businesses that have high quality construction materials that you can't really tell are there. You start to do that, then you get back to this, right?
Yeah.
But having said that, you're supposed to have your entrance corridor.
Right.
Right.
That's right. That's exactly right.
I'm not taking sides here, I'm just trying
No,
to.
I agree with you, your point.
Larry had arguably the largest town hall meeting on this subject, and you gotta tell the Dunkin' Donuts story.
All right. My town hall had about 90 people in it. And basically the title of it was the future development of Powhatan.
I believe you.
I set that up.
There was some black and orange signs out.
Yes, you put the signs up. So anyway, Dunkin' Donuts is a great example, and it's got a happy ending. So, and the franchise owner, Lou, great guy, I consider him a friend. The first meeting, with Dunkin' Donuts, they wanted to put a clean box, not useful, corporate lawyers said, we've done our research, we know what goes in Powhatan County, and it's this, and it was this plain rectangular, ugly box. And we had, the previous board had just been talking about matching architecture. In other words, you had to match what was around you. And that was going to include single developments, not just multi-unit development. So it was coming. It was right around the corner from actually being stamped into law. And so they unrolled their architectural drawing, and I said, well, you must have spent a little bit of money on this, but this doesn't match our laws. What do you mean it doesn't match your laws? So we've got a law coming up before you are able to build this. And you're gonna have to match the architecture around. So we went back and forth, and I played bad cop, and the guy complained, played good cop, and all that. And basically, bottom line, the way it turned out, the now franchise owner took out his smartphone and said, "Here, I've got some other ones. Here's a nice brick one, and oh, you know, it's over in Hanover County or something." He said, "How about this?" And I said, "Yeah, that looks a lot better. You moved me." Choices, you know, and 2 weeks later, had this beautiful architectural drawing, and it's now what you see. It is this cute little Williamsburgy, 2-chimney, faux tin roof, big, you know, picture window kind of things with an outdoor patio. I mean, it's a gorgeous little building. And the big corporate people just came to visit. I happened to be in there a few weeks ago, and they were just doing an eye over this building. And the bottom line is this, what where we're going with this. And I said this to Lou, my citizens want something different than a plain old rectangular box. You know, and we talked about it. We're not a bunch of bristle-headed rednecks out here in Powhatan County anymore. We don't do that. We want quality. Amazingly, they coughed it up, and it wasn't hard. It was not hard. It didn't cost Lou that much more money. So bottom line was, you know, I listened to the citizens. That town hall was part of that. I requested that the developer do what the people wanted so that their home comes out the way they want. They did it. We got a beautiful building. He's a good neighbor, and they're making more money because everybody likes to go into an attractive building to get food. You don't want to go to a dump to get food. So, I mean, that's the happy ending next door. They're very prosperous.
That's a great story. Do you have a formalized process for taking what was two people on opposite sides of the room and bringing them together? Is there a formalized process?
We do more now, yes.
Yes,
We
The
do.
planning commission has to approve architectural plans, and there is a book to choose from.
Sure. Yeah, usually there's.
But this was, what Larry was talking about, was developing.
I think that's the bottom line. You know, we're talking about perception here, Ken.
Yeah.
The perception is that we have poor enforcement, we have been following the regs, because that was true. It was poor.
Okay.
But we've turned a corner, and this is part of that process. And this board, I believe, is on board with continuing and making it even better as far as aesthetics without breaking the bank for the people who want to build. So yes, business friendly, but yes, listening to citizens, find that balance.
That's the key, right? That balanced growth and managed growth that gets you to where you need to be and where they need to be, and not lean too far in one direction or the other. Yeah, there's countless examples. If you've ever seen a Taco Bell, they use the color purple. Some counties don't like purple. There's an Audi dealer up last, they're corporate in wherever. Has to approve every location, and they're like, this is it. If you don't like it, we're not coming. So sometimes you run into intractable, sometimes you run into just, you know, certain things, but somehow find that balance of, yes, this is okay, and this is pushing the edge, and this is getting to where they're investing, because they're putting their capital at risk, but they're putting small businesses, large businesses, they're putting their capital at risk, and if they're going to get an attractive rate of return. If you drive by, go, oh, there's a McDonald's, there's a Taco Bell, there's a Wendy's, you recognize it immediately. They know they get more walking traffic, or driving traffic, you know, increase their profitability. They're more willing to put their capital at risk. If you hide it and disguise it, and it looks like a Revolutionary War house, people drive by, going, I'm still looking for that McDonald's I talked about, I can't find it. It's a balance. It sounds like you found the balance.
Maybe a monument sign that's real tasteful sitting out front with the arches on it instead of, you know, 25-foot tall arches on it.
Exactly.
And we have done a lot of that, kind of controlling the scale, the sizing. We've done, we've been in many of those stuff over that.
But that's relatively new.
Okay, so we're getting there, but the perception is probably still, hey, developers do whatever you want.
Well, the history can be blunt, it's kind of, we haven't always evenly enforced our own ordinance.
Okay. Right.
You know, we've had businesses tell us, and we just want to know what the rules are.
Mhm.
If we meet the rules, we'll be approved in time is money. Well, the ongoing complaint is that unevenness in terms of interpretation of what the rules are, the application of the rules, and most importantly, ourselves. You know, we take ownership because if you look at the things that people railed against on Route 60, you know, my counterpoint back to them was everything you see on Route 60, your government approved. So if there's an enemy, it's us.
Sure.
Because we have the tools to develop in a way that is consistent with what the county wants.
Okay, so that's a good observation, good insights. And if we just buy into that for just a second and say, you know, the code is here, but the enforcement's been over here, then the question becomes, if you want to bring the code enforcement back in, how do you do that? Do you do it all at once tomorrow with, you know, we're going to settle all the scores for the family one day? Or do you say, okay, there needs to be education involved, there needs to be, you know, some grandfather, but it can bring it back in line in a way that you don't alienate. So it needs to be done, but that's a challenge of how do you do that and still keep the peace. So that's going to be so we can get into that later, but the perception right now is that enforcement's been, you know, here and there, inconsistent, let's call it, at best. Okay. Anything else on perceptions? If not, I'm running out of paper here too, so that's when we better call it quits and go to the next question. So let me take 2 seconds here. Okay. You guys are doing great, by the way. Is this helpful? Yes. Is this
Yes.
Useful? Okay. Next question. Okay, on time, it's only been an hour. The next one's gonna be a little tougher question. Now we've had some underhanded pitches. Now we're gonna go for a little fastball here. What should the future of Powhatan look like? This is gonna help set the stage for developing a vision statement, which will be an element of the strategic plan. Not the entire plan, obviously, but an element of it is to create a vision statement. Before we get into trying to craft a statement, I want to spend a few minutes on what should future Powhatan look like, 10, 15, 20 years down the road. What should Powhatan look like? And in this case, I'd like it to be, again, aspirational, unconstrained by previous thinking. What, if you could write the future, you know, what would it look like? And again, you're channeling the citizens, if you will, that have told you what they like the county to look like going forward. And it's, again, unconstrained by current shortcomings, just big picture, blue sky, aspirational. We aspire to be this kind of a county going forward. Should be somewhat realistic and not, you know, in the realm of, you know, achievable, but aspirational. So,
And
with that,
one thing I would say,
stop for just a second, throw it open to you, Frank.
I would like to see, limited or no really large subdivisions. Not saying, like, what I've told all of you, I cap on sizes of subdivisions. Me personally, I don't really want to see 250, 300 homes coming anywhere. I would like the idea of smaller, 100 home or less subdivisions with cluster and then a lot of open space. So it's controlled. We don't have any of that, those big behemoth of developments coming in.
So you don't want to bring the mill rate.
Exactly.
in every county.
Side unit developments, subdivisions, whatever. Small limit the size to a reasonable size.
Reasonable size that we can manage.
Okay? So future Powhatan has a collection of smaller developments as opposed to massive, you know, huge developments. Yes, sir.
I'm going to still see dark skies and open spaces.
Okay?
I don't want that to change.
Very good.
Very good.
Dark sky and open space.
I would like to see good development at 288 and 711. exactly what that looks like now.
You only see developer.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll make the assumptions to this.
Karen addresses the size of the development, or at least the housing aspect of it. Me, I don't want to see any residential along Route 60. I think that's,
All of Route 60?
that's, Route 60. That would be from the Chesterfield, Powhatan line, all the way up to probably at least 522. I think that the residential aspect, that needs to be, it's commercial, needs to be commercial. Maybe we can make it our goal thing as opposed to our Russ Bank.
Okay, let's see, I'm just gonna widen that just a bit and call it the highest and best use of Route 60.
Right.
Which could be retail and commercial frontage on 60 with transition zones to starting with higher density, going to lower density away from it. So you get the commercial retail kind of clustered and less intensive uses moving back off of it.
I have no interest in housing on Route 60 at all.
If somebody's coming in, I'm Mike, will try to help you in defining that. Somebody wanted to come in and they wanted a single family home or they, you can do that. I mean, I'm saying that you can do that. I think in this last election, there was a lot of conversation about, did we want apartments, townhomes, high density residential up and down Route 60? And I think the community, at least, what I heard in my election, they didn't want to see that. There's reasons for that, okay? It's the 92A residential commercial imbalance that we had. They didn't want to see that exacerbated, where it would put further pressure on the cost of community services and schools. The second thing is, we already know in the morning, for traffic on Route 60, the crossovers don't work. And we know once we get down to the county line, going into executive committee meetings over to TPO, at 7:30, quarter to 8 in the morning, sometimes you will go 35 miles an hour to get through the stoplight at Old 100 Road, and then you'll get on 288, and then you go to a state breakdown, you go another 15 miles an hour. And then you'll get down to the Richmond Regional Transportation Planning Organization, and we're going to talk about transportation planning and congestion in the region. Okay, it's already here. So for us, the workforce of the Richmond region, when you talk about getting in the county, it's very important to us. So we've got to be very tuned in to traffic congestion, which is already there occurring in the mornings and the evenings down our main roads. And you're hearing talk about a regional authority coming into being, this General Assembly, where we'll be a part of it. And we'll be looking at what tax increases. And they're talking about the 10-cent tax increase also on gas. Well, who's that going to hit the hardest? It's going to hit the people that have to travel the furthest to go to work, us. And you won't see that money coming back to the county. That money will be going primarily to the region for 64, 95, and 288. So we have to be very careful. We're not going to see the 8 lanes like you said at Brandon the other day because VDOT's broke. Carlos Brown came to our transportation planning meeting. He's our Commonwealth Transportation Board member. And he says, this is the new model for funding transportation in Virginia, these regional transportation authorities. So now the burden is being pushed back on us to fund transportation, something that the General Assembly said back in 1932 under the Byrd Act that they were going to take responsibility for. But now they're pushing it onto us. And we're going to have the additional taxes to pay for these regional transportation projects that won't affect Powhatan. In fact, it'll actually burden us with those 10-cent tax increase on the gas because we have to travel to the jobs. So what I want to see for the future of Powhatan is to have a thoroughfare system where we can get around this county safely, efficiently. It's going to not have the congestion. It's not going to have the projected buildup of traffic and lower levels of service that everybody knows is coming when you just put the blinders on and you keep adding these high-density residentials, what the developments like were being proposed on Road 60 previously by the previous board. I don't want to see that.
Okay, those are all good comments. Let me try and pick a couple of them out of there.
Good thoroughfare.
Good thoroughfare plan.
That's gonna keep it.
Yeah, that's-
With good thoroughfare plan, level, good thoroughfare plan that has acceptable levels of service that we would all agree to.
So Route 60 commercial corridor.
All of it, I'm talking 522, 711.
So I don't know how that helped me out, but I don't want any houses on Route 6. I'm not sure where that helps you. I get the transportation part of it. And as we get into the transportation part of it, in the future of Powhatan County, I mean, I've lived here longer than anybody that's at the table. And I can remember when it was 2 lanes on Route 60 and what it was like. We have a transportation problem now,
Yes.
right now. How do we, that's probably not the way to do this, but we have a problem right now. So, that's almost back to, do we just close the doors and not let anybody else in? And then our problem won't be exacerbated by virtue of everybody else coming in. The future that I see, we have a problem on Route 60, and even with 522, 711, all of those corridors are issues. I just don't quite understand how we're going to fix VDOT's problem as we're Powhatan County, not VDOT.
And Bill,
And I get the tax
Bill,
authority situation.
and Mike is spot on because we got the TPO, and you remember when, I was chairman and tried to get them to move this line that goes through the county. Well, only half the county is eligible for federal funding. Just like the other rural counties, just like, Goochland, Yukon, Charles City. So we only get 2 votes as a rural community down at the TPO. Where do you think the money goes? It goes to the Big 4, where you've got the weighted voting based on population. So it goes to Richmond, Henrico, Hanover, and Chesterfield. So we're donor counties. And I had a good conversation with Frank Thornton over in Henrico. Frank comes over and says, David, this is the time, where we need to really work together. I said, but come on, Frank, I'm a donor county. You won't even allow me to have all of my county be considered for projects. I said, you had a regional gym with the Powhatan, State Park. We couldn't even submit that as a project for consideration to get the turn lanes in that we need to get the horse trailers and public safety. A regional gym, and you wouldn't even allow us to consider that project because only half the county. So that's the challenge. You're not going to get the money, to accommodate these improvements if you do, like Mike said, you just don't worry about the fuel, just load the wagon. Just go ahead and allow these people in, high-density residential developments, and then who's going to fix it? Who's going to fix it?
So-
It ain't going to be VDOT.
Yeah, and in the future, we're going to continue to have transportation problems.
Yes, I know probably.
Yeah, that's not
They're
going
gonna
to
get
go away.
worse, exactly.
Long-term water supply. I would like to have a secure long-term water supply.
Water and sewer infrastructure.
Capacity.
The future of Powhatan, if you look back over the last 20 years and you come into the next 20 years, where's the sheriff? Is he in here? He's gone.
Yes.
We're probably going to have and I think we have a secondary facility set up at the Huguenot building now, just not operator, manned. But we're going to have another location for our sheriff's office by the time we go 20 more years down the road. The projection, I think, is for us to go from 28,000 population now to 35,000 population in the year 2040. That's a lot. Fire, rescue, sheriff, those are the safety aspects for the public we have to think about in the future of housing. We unquestionably have schools we're going to have to think about. I don't know how the population grows with what age group. I mean, I know what Chesterfield says is going to happen there in the next 20 years, but I think our population seems to be aging in this county. So,
It's gone 6% in the last decade, okay, it's gone 12 to 18%. But our population growth has gone from 29% in 2010 to 4%. Rural counties in general are going to lose people, not gain people. The exception for that is in the southeast, adjacent to the metropolitan area. The projections that I see show us able to keep probably a 3 or 4% growth. In this decade, it has been 4%. And so it's going to be a much slower growth.
Well, I think Weldon Cooper, last 10 years in Powhatan was more modest growth, but going forward, it has a pickup in growth in population.
As of 2019, it's 4% for this decade.
Right, and the next day,
And it was 29%
sure.
prior decade.
So
yeah, this shows that as of March 2017, I don't know, you're looking at 19, which is current, but in 17, it was 23% from 20 up to 40, 13% from 20 to 30, and then 10% from 2030 to 2040. And that's from the Weldon Cooper, March 2017, out of the Powhatan County 2019
Dan,
long range
Weldon
plan.
Cooper data is just a straight projection with no adjustments.
Yeah, basically, they're taking the historical trends and just extrapolating.
So the trend is changing.
So does our population in the county include what we had in the past census question? Of the prisoners? Is that what did you take some of, did you take that out, Dave?
That was one reason Powhatan grew at such a fast rate,
Right,
around 2000, because the prison population
right.
was always included in there.
let's go on record.
We're getting-
saying
we're getting-
they were not-
where are we-
we're not citizens.
where are we going?
Mr. Mack, trends, grading of the county, aging of the county, population
Right.
trend, those are all trends. We're not there yet. We're on future, describing that target, that bullseye, 15 years out. We're not describing the trends yet. We're just saying, what would we like to do?
Sheriff, fire, and rescue.
So what I put up here is to maintain the quality of your county services. So as a grading occurs, if we need more services for the age challenge, whatever the right term is, or if your population just grows, a strain it'll put on your schools, or your fire rescue, or your sheriff, just maintaining the quality of services 15 years from now, so that there's no deterioration from today's levels.
Right.
Those trends will come in later when you figure out how to do that. Right now, we're just saying that in the future, we don't want that deterioration to take place. We want to have a quality of
Maintain.
services. And that may be closing some gaps in service today, or it may just be anticipating future gaps and addressing those. But the idea is that when you get there, you want to have high quality level of services across the board. So we'll see that as a future goal. Yes, sir.
Our courthouse village area, okay, will become better defined. It is not really geographically defined today. Growth area, not a village, okay? And that village courthouse area will remain compact, will be significantly larger than it is today.
Do you have the village boundary on your comp plan?
No, we don't have a we have a village growth district.
Sort of.
Sort of,
But not really,
So
we have
for
is-
the last 50 years, so.
we have some historical zoning which only applies to 6 blocks.
So we need to define that better and.
It has to be defined, and it should be a significantly larger but very compact area.
Very good, but it's small.
Compact means it doesn't jump and leave open spaces.
Contiguous.
Contiguous.
Okay. larger engine interest. Okay?
Broadband.
Waiting for that one to go up. Ubiquitous broadband.
I don't even know what, have a clue what 20 years will be doing.
Something.
10G.
I know what I'll be.
10G.
Programs, so like our seniors are Parks and Rec, we have very lackluster Parks and Rec. More robust Parks and Rec.
Then that's a good reason. A second location, you have Fighting Creek, which we have a lot of capacity there. But if the eastern part of the county grows, which is what I kind of think will probably happen, then we might need to go and look at something for another park at that eastern border of the county.
And those programs do create a sense of community.
Oh, absolutely,
What we-
absolutely.
It's a little bit back to maintaining the quality of services. If Parks and Rec right now is at a certain level, and you get more population, more dogs, more seniors, more whatever they want, it puts a strain on your existing resources to add resources so that you don't see deterioration with the Parks and Rec. Or you may decide today that we just don't have enough today, we have a gap. So you might need to close that gap by offering additional. So combination of the two. Future, anything else about the future Powhatan? This is the bullseye, this is the destination, the station, the train station, you want to get on that train, it's going to take you to this.
It's going to become a tourism destination.
So emphasize tourism.
Well, the infrastructure to support tourism will develop. Okay? And we'll be able to sell things like our park.
Is tourism something you'd like to expand as a business or an activity in your county? Is that, some counties say, hey, tourists come in, they drop the money, they leave, you don't build schools. Others say, you know what, that just brings more people, it's more congestion, more traffic. So I mean, I'm just throwing out ideas here. Tourism as a concept, is that something that?
Appeals to the rest of us, not so much.
No, you know, I've said this before, you've got a lot of beautiful historical sites, you know, in Powhatan County. County has one over on 7-Eleven. The problem that comes in is how do we generate revenue from the history that we have in Powhatan County? You know, it's not like we have a Hamlin Park or, you know, we have a Williamsburg. We don't. So how do we capture those tourist dollars when people are taking the tour of the scenic byway or they're going out to see something in Kearns, you know, district? Where do we bring the cash register and capture that quote tourism dollar? I've never been able to get an answer for myself on how that is going to work. I know those places are there. I know people go away and look at them. But at the same time, I have no way of quantifying what that means to the county in terms of dollars and cents.
That becomes the least elusive kind of thing, in terms of building that infrastructure to do what you're talking about.
Is that tourism or is that a go-to place that
Destination.
I'm talking about for rental cottages, places to stay, places to leave money, places to eat. We don't have enough of those. And if you're going to have tourism, you're going to have to develop that tourism infrastructure to do exactly what you're talking about. Leave money, make it work.
Yeah, and, I've seen other counties wrestle with this as well, and rather than just tourism, call it agribusiness, where you don't want to see farms plowed under in developments, rooftops, apartments. So you've got to generate additional sources of revenue to reduce the attractiveness of selling out to a developer. So how do you do that? You have weddings and barns, you have craft breweries, you have bed and breakfast, you have Airbnbs, you have rolling tours, either bicycle or car, or tours of the area with stops along the way. But agribusiness, if you will, if you want to maintain rural, they got to have some sources of revenue. As you know, farming margins have been compressed, and just the farms are disappearing every day. So how do you maintain that open space or those farms? How do you generate additional sources of revenue? And what are those sources? It depends on the county feel would be appropriate. I haven't, tourism hasn't risen to the level of me putting it up here yet. If I hear, yes, we need to expand tourism in the future, then, maybe that should make the list. something that needs to be discussed later.
As you can see, there's not broad agreement on tourism.
But see, this is part of the purpose of these meetings,
Right.
so that you get a better understanding of where it's coming from. So when tourism comes up, you'll know whether it's broad consensus or not, that kind of thing. So, other things about the future of Alabama. We're maintaining quality of services, providing infrastructure, keep traffic moving, keep commercial, keep Route 60 corridor commercial, develop 288, 711, dark sky compliant, limited size of planned unit developments, ubiquitous broadband, more robust parks and rec. What other, anything else you think about? No, we'll just keep it. I didn't run out of paper here, that's why I'm asking.
But if you got that road 60, my big thing is roads. County be able to move through the county. So we've got issues that we're gonna have to resolve with transportation for public safety reasons.
Yes. And that made the thoroughfare.
Particularly on certain roads in the county.
One way I've seen that is if you've got a commercial corridor, there's a lot of traffic, you develop, parallel byways where you can pull into the gas station, get a gallon of gas, but if you want to do anything beyond that, you get off on the byway, and you go in and out, and that way you limit the number of entrances on the 60, so traffic.
Conflict points.
So, just,
We're trying to do that with our smart scale project, that's, piece into our parallel roads concept. We understand that very well, and we have access management standards which are more stringent than VDOT's because we want to preserve the capacity and the safety of the roads, the integrity of the roads going forward, knowing that we weren't going to get a lot of help, from VDOT or regional TPO.
right, yeah. Okay, now that we're warmed up, I'm going to spend the next maybe 10 to 15 minutes, maybe a little less before our first break, and take a first cut at a vision statement. I don't know where the county is. We talked about, situational awareness, where we are today. We talked a little bit about the future, where we want to go. Talked a little bit about some of the perceptions and realities. We got kind of a grounding now. So now it's time to say, okay, let's try to distill all this down into, maybe it doesn't need to fit on a bumper sticker because that's just a slogan, but it should be reasonably concise, reasonably compact, and something that people can remember when you ask them 2 days later, what was that vision statement?
Let me ask you a question about yours.
Sure.
One of the factoid, okay? Their vision statement is 20 words, okay? What is fascinating is 20 words. Our current vision statement is 199. Did y'all purposely choose, you had to work really, really hard to get it to 20 words?
We're pretty slow at stuff. You guys are much faster than me. Put it down really quickly, but you're right, it is a challenge, and we did spend quite a bit of time on it. Because when you only have 15 or 20 or 25 words, everyone's got to be impactful and high value add. But it does get into something that people can remember. It'll fit on a bumper sticker if you've got a really long bumper. But the idea is making it memorable, hard hitting, compact, and just get to the point. Just distill it down. So we've thrown up a lot of stuff. Now it's time to put it through the distillery machine and distill it down, and then come up with some point hitting. But you're right, that is a tougher one. I mean, wordsmith it like crazy. What about this word? Well, I don't know that word. It takes a while, but that's why I wanted to spend at least some time now to try to take a cut at it. So if I was to try and write a vision statement, which is aspirational, forward-thinking, forward-looking, what kind of county Powhatan should be 15, 20 years out in the future? And I wanted to say it in reasonably few words, very succinct. How would I do that?
One.
If nothing else, let's get something on the table and then we can work with it.
This is just a phrase, it doesn't have, okay? It's a rural community
Okay?
where economic opportunity
Economic opportunity and history fuse,
F-U-S-E,
confusion.
providing an alternative lifestyle,
Providing,
alternative lifestyle.
Gabby Gillespie.
To the surrounding suburban crowd.
Karen Bailey.
to surrounding suburban county.
She got hung up on alternative.
Yeah.
No comment.
It's not just me.
Here's another phrase for you. Want another phrase?
Yeah, the last one was fun, go ahead.
No, this is just a whole nother bullet point.
It's part of the same vision
Oh,
statement.
it could be.
Okay,
A rural community
okay.
which treasures dark sky nights,
Treasures,
dark sky nights, open spaces, and thinks volunteerism is important.
space. Volunteerism. Important. Okay, others, anyone else want to take a cut?
I'm not gonna be much help in these kinds of.
I'm not a one, no one, so
I am
right
terrible
now.
on picking and wordsmithing on these types of
Well-
statements, absolutely on this one.
I would.
Mark's once got a phone call, and it was the newspaper, and they said, Mark, we want you to, Samuel Clemens, I guess, we want you to write an article for the paper. And we want you to come up with, your own article. So he said, okay, good. When do you want it? He says, if you want it tomorrow, I can give you 400 words. If you want it next week, I can give you 10 words. He's a smart guy, I guess, but it's just easy to get it into a few words. A lot of us use words like a machine gun, not a sniper. We get our, it's hard. And we spent a lot of time on this, we really did. And we're trying to do this in a fairly efficient fashion and try and move forward. And by the way, look, this is gonna be a living, breathing thing, and we can tinker with this for the next couple of sessions, and you guys can think about it at night and all that.
I like the words rural community, I don't, maybe we can chunk this a little bit.
Yeah.
Rural community's okay,
We all agree, we'll
Got that.
be in there.
okay. Future of Palatine. Okay, so you're gonna stay rural, or you're gonna balance rural with economic pressures?
I like the term rural feel, because you can have growth, but still maintain a rural feel. I've seen communities, you mentioned one example, you build a new structure, if it looks like a barn, but it's not a barn, it has a rural feel, even though you just grew.
Yeah.
Or you can grow by putting things behind tree lines that don't need to be seen. You know what I mean?
Okay, this is important because if I'm a new business in California, my taxes are too high, and I'm moving to Palatine, I'm gonna pull up the leadership's vision for their county.
That's right.
And it says, we're gonna stay rural. You're gonna say, okay, well, someplace else. You get back to that business friendly or not. If the answer is we're staying rural, that could be viewed by the business community as business hostile. So that's why I say that, balanced growth of doing it right or smart, whatever you want to use, to say that,
I was gonna wordsmith with Bill put economic opportunity, I was gonna say business opportunity. I was thinking that, he was saying economic opportunity, so I don't know, maybe,
There tends to be confusion, Larry, you're right, there tends to be confusion over what kind of economic opportunity should be there. I think all of us are looking for business, not residential.
you can always put something like attractive business growth. That means a lot of different things to different people. We might scare Palatine people with that. attractive, you know, like,
And you know,
That
our
might be a
business
strength.
opportunities are really pretty limited to Route 60 in the 288, 711 corridor. And that's what our business is, you know, predominantly, probably 90% of it. I mean, that's our business. So to be inclusive and not turn them away, we need to somehow or another highlight that, you know, we are here to do business with business.
That's a good point. Citizens are gonna read this too, not just
Yeah,
businesses coming
yeah.
from California.
Yeah.
And when a citizen reads this and says this, our vision statement is geared toward business, they're gonna say, what about us citizens? Everybody's gonna read it.
Right.
So you, as you write this, it needs to- so is it prosperity, where it could be a business coming in, making money, or individuals that have jobs, or?
Prosperity.
You know,
I like
Yeah,
prosperity.
prosperity.
I don't want to put words in your mouth. This is
No, you didn't. I
content.
mean, I'll tell you if I don't like it, don't worry.
Sorry about that.
Prosperity is a good choice, because it's not discriminatory in any way.
Point I was trying to make,
Right.
everybody's gonna read it, it's
Right.
not just, and so it needs to reveal all the different constituents that you have, businesses, landowners, citizens in particular. So,
or you could use a geographic, like defined economic zones or something like that to.
so big picture, we want a prosperous, rural-centric kind of county, how we do it so far.
If we don't have rural in there, we're all gonna have a lot more spare time before.
Well, I understand. Some counties out there have a target of maintaining 85% of the acreage in the county as rural, and 15, concentrate on the development of 15%. So the citizens at least get an idea, when you say rural, is it 99, what? Is it 85, 15? What does it mean? We talked about the tax revenue sources being, 85 residential versus commercial, but then there's the land use as opposed to the tax revenues. It's a different, so the square acreage versus the dollars. But that way, at least citizens and businesses know, yeah, we've got room for some.
That's really important, Ken, because that helps define, I mean, exactly what you're saying, what does that mean? Okay, we want to be rural, because what is successful, us maintaining rural,
How you measure.
how do you measure it?
That's why I say rural feel,
Yeah,
because everybody kind of knows what that is. It feels like the city, you know what I'm saying? If it's got a rural feel to it, that doesn't exclude some buildings. But in slightly switching gears, there's creative ways to do that without leaving acreage open or whatever. Like I said, if, a small box or whatever sheet metal business comes in and you've got 25 employees, they don't need to be right on 60 in scene, or they can be on 60, but be behind trees or a berm, or, be on the back road access on the other side. And that still has a rural feel. If you see nothing but trees, that's a rural feel. On the other hand, we just plop new business down there. That's not more open acreage, but it feels like. See what I mean?
Yes, I do. So that there's different ways to develop. You can develop and incorporate a rural feel or not, and the preference would be to incorporate the rural feel. What I'm thinking more broadly is on rural, we're trying to, what is rural? Do you feel like in your vision, big picture, that you should be good stewards of natural resources and rivers, lakes, rural, open space? I mean,
Environment.
is that playing here at all? Because I know you've,
That's dark skies and open spaces.
yeah, we got that here. That's pretty specific. It's,
But that is a metaphor for.
rural, it's,
And if Larry's rural feel. You're not
Think
gonna have
about this.
you're not gonna have dark sky nights if you have, Westchester Commons sitting on top of it.
right.
Ken, Bill sent us, this was from the 1998 comprehensive plan, and I thank you for doing it. It was interesting to go back and look at the citizens' vision of the county's future. And they had 1, 2, 3, 5 areas: vision of rural character, vision of quality of community development, vision of business and employment, vision of public facilities, and vision of community attributes. But I'd like to just read the first couple of sentences of vision of rural character. In the year 2020, Powhatan County is a rural community that continues to offer a quiet, peaceful atmosphere with plenty of green, open spaces. The county is a friendly, safe, physically healthy place for people to live, having made a successful transition from rural county to a rural community. Although Powhatan remains primarily a vibrant community to the core city, it also has good schools and educational opportunities, fire rescue protection, with rural growth and residences. The county also has a small, clean businesses that are located in parks and targeted areas and not extra. But even back in '98, they said they wanted rural county. I think we've said that in every comprehensive plan since 1998. So it's very clear that, we still want to maintain this rural character, rural community, however you want to say it. They say it different ways than this. So other than that, we do want to have, businesses. We don't want to say we don't want businesses, but we do want businesses, as Karen pointed out. We very much want to develop east of 288, around 711.
So that's a good point. Hopefully that was helpful reading some of the previous thoughts on this. Maybe what we can do, maybe what we can do is rather than try to string together a sentence or two, to take the elements that should be in there, and then we can figure out later how to make a sentence out of it. So rural community should be in there. And you can draw on what you told me the future of the county should look like for elements that should be in this vision statement. It's not fair to use your own words against you, I know, but if there's anything in here that would help, but let's just start with words or 2 or 3 words of phrases or something.
Peaceful?
Elements, just peaceful, okay?
I do think the fiscally healthy part of this, and I'm surprised we didn't actually have that in the future. If you're not fiscally healthy, you're press to have a robust community.
Fiscally responsible rather. And then how about safety? I heard safe before.
Yeah.
Safety means a lot of different things to different people, but if you're not safe, that's really a job a lot of people. So safety, a safe community, a peaceful community, prosperous community, a fiscally responsible community. I'm going to say alternative community. Surroundings, that's a relativistic kind of thing, saying it will be better or worse or different than the guys next to us. This is kind of an absolute, what we want Powhatan to be, and whatever else anybody else is going to be, they'll do their thing. Sit back and criticize what they're doing. So what else should be in here? I have my note that you're getting some of this down. If we don't get to a full-fledged statement here, a lot of these capture the elements. And then you can give it some thought, and then we'll figure it out.
Another word you want in there, I think, is balance.
Balance?
We're trying to find a way to balance these words we just said with an attractive business climate.
Okay.
So it's not a business climate, but we want to balance these things against attracting.
Balance growth, because it could be business growth, residential, just about balance growth. Balance for now, that balance growth. Anything else that should be in this aspirational big picture down the road? We want to be safe, we want to be peaceful, we want to be responsible, we want to be rural. What else do we want to be?
More economic development.
And this is what I was when I was thinking, how about the word lifestyle? Gets back to that alternative. Calm down. But, those, when you get into friendly, peaceful, that's a kind of a lifestyle that I think people from Chesterfield, Northern Virginia, they come in. Peace and quiet, tranquility, And as I talk to people, I was sitting here thinking, in my district, rules are a pretty common word that everybody will talk about. But one word that maybe people that hadn't been into Powhatan, or new to Powhatan, or new to Virginia, was they like the space. When you get into your open spaces, space was, a word that rule has some connotations that come along with it, like most words, one way or another.
And rural is hard to define, because what's rural to me isn't the
Well,
same as it is to you, I mean.
Right, and when you get to this, in how you do this, because I'm looking at Houston's mission, how do you break it? How do you've got to find a way to come up with, did we succeed? Were we successful? Did we attain our goal? Did we reach it? Did we get there?
How do you measure it?
And I cheated a little bit. I watched some Goochland meetings on video. So, when you get to that point, it's you have each year to revisit this, right?
Yeah, we've got like a 5-year plan. In fact, we're gonna revisit it with our new team. It's a big
Right.
change in leadership, so.
Yeah, but you have that ability to revisit, to tweak it, to amend it or change it to some degree.
Absolutely.
If you're not on pace or something has come into play that was not there.
You're jumping way ahead, but we're gonna spend a lot of time on that because it's crucial, it's critical. I'm gonna ask you a couple of questions as we go later on about volunteerism. How can government make people volunteer? Play well with others, collaborate. I mean, what's government's role at making people be next to their neighbor? So if you can't make it happen, then should you hold yourself accountable or not? And then if you don't hold yourself accountable, you can't make it happen. For the things that you can control, like quality of public education, how do you measure that? And then we'll talk way at the end toward closing feedback loop, coming back and forth. We do annual reports, for instance. Give you an annual update on every one of ours. If we're offline, if there's anything we should be doing to get back on track, or if things change, you're continually revisiting and closing that loop. So those are all excellent points. We're not quite there yet, but those are great points. I think I read in some of the materials a thing called a sense of place, and I just didn't know what to do with it. It was just too amorphous. I mean, everybody at this table knows what a sense of place means, but it's just so amorphous.
Every community will say they've got the quality of life.
Quality of life, sense of place, enhanced communication.
It almost becomes a buzzword.
It's almost a buzzword. So I prefer to kind of stick to things that you have some control over, that you can measure, that you might take actions to adjust if you're not meeting the rules. With that said, I think we're almost up on our first break here. So if we have elements of it, I think we'll call that a victory that we've got some words or phrases that we want to see in that, and then we can distribute that, think about that, and we can come back to our next session. So
Let's take a break.
We have a question from the gallery.
maybe during the break, we can chat a little bit. Is that okay? So we're officially on break for a few minutes, and then
test.
Actually, I was gonna say, I don't think
I-
you, oh, you had two? Okay.
Play nice.
Okay, we're back in order.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
So, David, let's go.
Yes, sir. All right, thank you for taking that break and coming back afterwards. It's been my experience that, when the thumb gets numb, the brain does too. And so we want to take breaks every once in a while, stay engaged. So thank you for that. I think what we'll do is, we'll use these elements of a vision statement, and perhaps between now and our next session, the board collectively can make some progress on trying to read those concepts together into a coherent sentence, and I'd be happy to lend whatever assistance I can in that process, but rather than take up any more time tonight, I think we've exhausted that. So we're moving on to the next one, which is the mission statement. It's part of the broader strategic plan. It starts with an overarching vision statement for the future, and then the mission statement is really what's the role of the local government. Should have changed my paper box. Great. The role of local government. So this is, what does the county leadership see as its job, as its role, the mission that you have as leaders of the county? And I'm going to ask you to think about that for just a second. I'll write down some ideas on, if you recall here, we brainstormed a little bit on the future and then try to come up with a vision statement of the future. So now we'll brainstorm a little bit on what the legitimate, proper role of local government is, and then we'll try and create a mission statement out of that. So what are some of the roles of government, local government? What are some of your roles, your jobs? What do you see as your mission?
I've said this before. As an elected official, I feel like it's my responsibility to make sure that people in this county get the services that they deserve, if they require.
Be fiscally responsible.
You could append what I just said in a fiscally responsible way.
So if I want a skate park, I can have one.
Absolutely.
Well, that might-
And you would be a perfect candidate right now, wouldn't you?
We get the safety of Senate. You want to say something?
No. Don't forget Ms. Hurt over here, she's on.
I got one too.
She
I want an ice skating rink.
Maybe y'all could be a couple.
We're now just touching on economic development and what your proper role there is in economic development. I mean, as I understand it, each property in Powhatan is zoned, and in that zoning has things it can do by right, and things it can do with special permissions, and things that are prohibited. And that is your existing property rights. And so then development would be where they come before you and say, I'd like to have a more intensive use or rezone to a higher level of intensity and create some new property rights, if you will. So then that's where you come in play. Then what's your proper role when those applications come in, I guess would be.
You didn't like what I said, I take
it.
Help facilitate quality development in appropriate areas.
Facilitating.
Or maybe not facilitate.
Well, I think it's another way of saying it. You know, we have a responsibility to plan for this county. It's part of what we do.
There's a broad planning, and that's there's a variety of planning. There's transportation planning, schools planning, safety planning, there's a lot of, so that's planning to be able to provide those quality services,
Exactly.
even in the face of increasing population
Yep.
and stresses and demands on your services. Okay, yeah, that kind of development.
To guide?
Um,
Because I'm going back to Karen's comment where what you're saying. The role is to guide that development.
So some would view it as, you know, you set the table with an attractive meal, but you can't make people or businesses eat. So you can't make people develop, force people to develop, but you can set the table and then step back and see if you're willing to invest their capital and take a risk and come in and develop and exercise their property rights. facilitate or encourage, or now you're moving the fortune enough kind of thing and trying to help.
I'm all out on the grill, cooking, trying to get the aroma in there so everybody can come in.
If you decide to try to dinner, people come to show up to eat, and you can't force them. Or, make them drink whatever it is. A bunch of different analogies.
So what's wrong with goose?
We like parrots.
Now, that's cheating, you're not allowed to. Well,
Imitation is the.
all right, plagiarism. Plagiarism. No, I won't put that up.
That's one of our unique.
We like ours, we're very proud of it, but it took us forever to develop it. It took you guys 2 minutes to go, let's just use that one. It's a lot more efficient. But again, I get back to every county is unique. I try to resist that a little bit. And
I like the word that Joe used, accountable.
accountability is, we view it as very important.
And efficient. Government and efficiency usually are not in the same sentence.
User.
Yeah.
All right, prudent.
Let's see, efficiency. We define that separately from effective. Efficient being, a low-cost provider, effective providing high-quality services. So that combination gets you, how do I provide really high-quality, excellent services at the most reasonable price? So efficiency and effectively went together, but they were separate concepts. So efficient, accountable, transparent, that's important. Effective, actually services that response times that are low enough, the house doesn't burn down.
But isn't effective part of providing, isn't that part of number one, though?
Effective would be the quality services, yeah, so there's the same.
And so would it
Well, not necessarily. I could say you have the best schools in Virginia, but it's costing you 5 times what it costs anybody else per student. I mean, can you get there? If you had the best schools in Virginia and you had the lowest cost per student, now you're
Now you're not fiscally responsible.
Yes, right? Exactly, right. So yes, provide quality services and be fiscally responsible at the same time. So there's your efficient, effective, if you want to use those. Efficient is fiscally responsible, so it's kind of redundant. Effective is quality services. Okay, let's see, what else? What is your job? Provide safety.
You said a word a moment ago that then nobody else caught along or said it, or you didn't write it. It's transparency. It's our job to be transparent.
Yeah, if citizens don't know what you're doing, they can't hold you accountable.
Um,
No, they can't.
Then they just guess, if you're transparent, they know exactly how to hold you accountable. Transparent, accountable, efficient, what else is your mission? There's a lot of quality services, gets, education, public safety, all the different variety of county level services, do it in an efficient manner. Planning's a big piece for the future. What else?
Listen,
Sorry?
listen.
Listen to the citizens. How would you?
I don't know how that fits in. It seemed like it fit in one of those.
Accountability.
How back to citizens?
And I have one that you don't even need to start writing, but it's a good reminder. When I read this, what is the role of local government? I thought of what is the role of all government, and it's life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. To secure these rights, governments are instituted among men. So to secure these rights, that is what we're really here for, and that includes, according to interpretations, things like safety, property rights, reasonable property rights, freedom to be able to buy and sell and trade. So there's a lot wrapped up in that that's actually quite practical.
Based on like, defend citizens' rights, protect citizens' rights, what's the right?
Yeah, protect citizens' rights, that would be all right.
Just, you mentioned the formation of governments are one of their primary allocations is to protect rights of citizens.
Do they use that in their vision statement?
Yes.
It is an opportunity with the citizens, the rights and freedoms to protect.
I didn't read
Rights and freedoms.
came up with that on its
I
own.
do. Yeah, we have rights and freedoms.
Actually, I didn't come up with that myself, it was Thomas Jefferson. But he stole it from Locke.
Yeah, plagiarism.
Yeah.
Still doesn't teach it. But no, that's a good one, because that is one of the fundamental, it gets back to what is the basic fundamental rights, and there's a lot of debate in this country about what the core government services should be, and some governments wander outside that core group and start providing everything, and so it's up to each government, local, state, and federal, to decide these are our core government services, and beyond that, it's the private sector or somewhere. Do we compete with private sectors? There's a private sector Little League baseball league out there, and we started a county-sponsored league to compete with this. Where do you draw that? You want parts to brag, but you want to respect rights, and you don't want to. So each jurisdiction here is included, but you need to have that kind of debate of how do we describe our mission and our core services that we provide, knowing that there's other needs out there, folks have other needs, but is that a government service or not?
Well, like, it really hits home with the planning and zoning. You know, where's the line between an owner's property rights and government's right to have responsible zoning, so you don't get the nuclear waste dump next to the preschool.
Transition zones between intensive uses, the use of eminent domain, there's a lot of different rights around, to protect the rights and freedoms versus planning and zoning and where those run, where those meet. Again, it's helpful for each of you to know how each of you think about these things, because these things will confront you at some point, and you'll know how to deal with them in a more collaborative way, so you know where people know. Let's see, what else? We pretty much exhaust missions, did we? We got enough to go on here. Do we want to try a mission statement, or just want to pull things out of here again, in for words? Okay, let's do the full things. But as far as the mission statement goes, what should be in it? Not what should it say?
All right, well, I think you want numbers, pick them all.
Check them or
Right. One, quality services that are fiscally responsive, that are transparent. 7, effective and accountable to citizens.
Well, it's transparent, isn't it? Accountable.
Yeah, I think that's where we're going, the transparent.
Well,
Well,
the transparent just lets folks see being held accountable is to come back and do the quarterly or annual report card and say, we told you this is what we're going to do, it's our vision. Now here's how we're doing, according to that vision. But it could be redundant to a certain extent, but I think.
and again, I like them. I like them all. When you get right down and protecting the rights of citizens, I think that's important as well. I mean, if you really want to get down to the brass tacks, I like all of them.
Yeah, I think it's good.
A little redundant, but other than that, there's some redundancy, but that was easy.
Yeah, sure, so I like all of them.
Yeah, so the difficult part is how you make one sentence out of this, or 2 sentences, and that's, we can do that between now and the next meeting. We've done right now. Really good on this. Pretty generous.
Yeah, Brad, get on that, would you?
This should be testing your tolerance for ambiguity, because we're dealing in the amorphous here a little bit. And,
If we wanted to,
you can task Brad to come up with one sentence.
You're in that?
Yeah. I was reading it today.
I'll work on it. Yeah.
Yes, sir.
If we wanted to condense that,
Uh-huh.
it'd be 1, 2, 7, and 8.
1, 2,
Saying that 6 and 4 are already inculcated in some of the if the object was to condense it. If you looked at 127.6.8 and said, well, that's a little longer than I want.
Yep. Just, you know, just using a lot of comments. In the county street. A lot of comments. But that's a good way to condense it, because there is some redundancy in here. And keep in mind, the vision statement and the mission statement are going to be read by a number of different constituents, and the citizens are going to look at this and go, this touches a little bit, I was doing some, I don't want to shift gears here, but I was doing a little bit of homework on some of your previous works. Again, we came to this meeting unencumbered, and so I want to stay away from that. But a couple of things that we're missing in the past is citizen-centric customer satisfaction. I mean, if you're going to the GM dealer or a Ford dealer or something, they want to make sure you're satisfied when you leave. As a citizen reads your vision and mission statements and all that, they're going to say, okay, your business, your development, your roads. When I go into the planning department or the economic development department, I want to put a pool in my backyard. And they say, well, you go down the hall and get this, then you go third floor and get that, and you go second floor and get that, and then, by the way, next week we're going to do some more things. They say the satisfaction level drops even though you're providing all the services, right? So, I mean, coming at it from a citizen-centric, putting yourself in citizen's shoes, and one of the ways it's done is every time there's a contact between a citizen and the government, there's a 3-5 card that says, you know, okay, good, bad, different, whatever. That way you're closing that feedback. So the citizen-centric customer satisfaction is the ultimate goal. We prefer to listen to citizens, but have to ensure that they're pleased or happy, where that satisfaction level is. And that's maybe a piece of it. But anyway, having said all that, I think that always doing is reminding you that these statements are being read by a number of different constituents, and try to put yourself in each of their shoes as you're reading through this to see how it would play. Is there customer focus or satisfaction element to it? Anyway, all right, that's enough on that. So we have, I think, what we need here. We move forward. Yeah. A few minutes left here. By the way, for folks that are keeping track, and we're trying to get you out here by around 9 o'clock or so, so if you can hang in there until then, that'd be great. Okay, the next one is, the next topic is core values. And these are core values that permeate everything you do. They're shared values, they're how you know, what governs or guides your activities on a daily basis. Could be things, suggestions, could be things like integrity and honesty and just values, core values that you want citizens to know. This is how you behave in everything you do for the county. Oh, man. Let's do something else. All right. So, core values. These are just one word or 2 word answers. We're not going to string these together in a sentence. Core values.
Honesty and transparent. Is that what you're looking for?
Honesty, if you value that, we'll get into how that can manifest itself. Honesty,
That is transparent.
transparency. Other values. Kind of values, the personal values, professional values, things you bring to the office, things that guide you on your daily
Integrity.
Integrity, yeah. You want to stay in integrity or?
Yep. H&I.
Most companies have core values. Probably Red doesn't know. I don't know. What else?
And service, that's what we're telling you.
Customer focus.
Yeah.
Service.
Like, to your point, when they go into the building, you know, and talking all over the place, you could have a quality service, or I don't know how you word it, but it's.
Service for now, we can figure out what we mean by that. Service oriented, whatever, providing customer satisfaction.
Oh, yeah.
that line out there. We talked about courage and risk taking, being willing to, step out and not, hide. When it goes against tough, I don't know if that's a value or not. These are the kind of values, how do you approach your job? Collaborative, do you work with other?
Yes, the word approachable. I think there's a lot of people that they think we're giving them a big favor by answering the phone or something. My attitude is that people are our boss, us on the approach, and we ought to be approachable.
Yeah, sometimes businesses call open door policy, my door's always open, whatever, I'm accessible. Town halls, we bring the government out to the citizens, bring it in their neighborhood, you're open door, you're accessible, you're approachable, that's a good one.
Can you be a cautious risk taker?
No, you need to be a smart risk taker.
The risk taking part, I think, I would go on. Oh, heck, yeah. There's no doubt.
Yeah, just full disclosure, part of the courage is calculating. You probably have all experienced this, but there may be something that is just absolutely in the best interest of the county. No question, best interest of the county. And you may have 5 or 6 people show up at a board meeting and just don't you dare, and just in your face. And I've seen countless local governments say, I don't want to offend that person and do the wrong thing. Do not have the courage to say, I hear you, I understand, but I swore an oath or whatever, to do the right thing, regardless if it costs you votes. This is the kind of courage where you do the right thing, let the chips fall where they may. That's what we meant by it. It's not necessarily, I'm out a window ledge, but
Reed Marsh comes to mind.
there's a lot that comes to my mind. Usually the ones that go to the morning.
But yeah, that's what you can't always just go with the flow, because there's opportunities that exist that are out there. You have to step out there.
People will stand up and do the right thing. It's not easy sometimes. You guys all know that. Yes, I all know that. It's not easy to do the right thing all the time.
What about accountable? I don't see that.
Accountable, okay, that makes it up here a lot, which is good, right?
Well, putting courage out.
I felt like I was putting that in your I wasn't serving myself too much in the process. I really just supposed to,
I like that.
Honesty and integrity, doesn't that feed courage? Yeah.
it should, being true to thyself, whatever.
If I'm kind of integrity has all different needs. It needs a process. The process has integrity. It's going to work the same way every time. It can be counted on. That's effective.
There you go. Yeah, we felt too many politicians in other jurisdictions, not ours, not yours, just sell their votes for, sell their integrity for votes, and we just didn't want to be in that kind of leadership team. So we're going to do the right thing and listen to citizens and let the chips fall where they may. And not do things for votes, but do things that's just the right thing to do.
I'm getting some help from the neighborhood.
Oh, yeah. Are they slipping in notes or
Compassion.
okay? Sure. Don't want to be the heavy hand, or be the light hand, probably.
Or valid.
This is what you're going to be known for, what your values are. It's going to describe you as an individual. So these should be things, attributes that you say, yeah, I'll wear these. These are my attributes. And it can be aspirational as well. I'm the kind of person I'd like to, I'm a work in progress, like we all are, but I'd like to think that I'm going to be this kind of person someday. Okay, this again is just
What are they talking about?
I assume you all resemble these. And this is just going to be a list. We're not going to try to string these together into a sentence way. These are just values that your core values.
Which ones do you find, in your ramblings, do you find those that are missing, that worry you? Are you looking at different organizations?
Values that are missing in other
The core
organizations.
values that are missing, okay?
Sure.
So which ones worry you the most when they're missing?
Oh,
Honesty, of course, would be at the top. I mean, if they're not honest with you, then
as you all know,
You know what I'm
there have been elected officials that have served time. I've heard a lot that they never do. Sometimes they do. I won't go into that one. Bring it up old wounds, but certainly take that by the way. But the ones that I see most often is elected officials who put their own interests before those of the county. Sometimes it's very innocuous, like voting yes or no to get votes. Sometimes it's a little more insidious, like you own a piece of land, you vote for rezoning, you didn't tell anybody you have an economic interest, and you profited from your position, those kind of things. And you see that a lot, and it drives me crazy. If you don't have this one, then the antenna should go up. Because sunlight is the best disinfectant. And if they're operating in the shadows, they don't want you to know what's going on. I've seen that before too. Nobody was able to get any information about anything. And that includes FOIA requests and whatnot, just nothing. That should worry you. We pledge to be completely transparent and totally accountable and just everything, just everything. And I'm sure there's nothing to hide, don't worry about it. But different counties have different, it's easy for too transparent, not too much, then we're gonna get so much citizen feedback and comment, we're gonna grind everything along. I actually had one public servant say, one of the biggest problems we have today is there's too much citizen involvement. And it was like fingernails on the blackboard for us. I mean, that's just, so I don't know where this is going with, so that you asked if I've seen lack of these things. I've seen lack of these things. It's not pretty. And,
you would think that those all should be, branded in.
you think everybody behaves this way, service before self. You'd think everybody behaves this way, but I will tell you that it's the exception, not the rule, unfortunately. That's why I get asked to go into different counties. The lack of these things is. All right, well, let's not dwell too much on this. I think you guys have a good start there. You can always add more to. This isn't chisel and stone. But I think you got a really good start, and you're going to come up with a list of programs that you got now all set. All right, let's keep moving then. Oh boy. This next one's going to probably take most of the rest of the time that we have. And that is, we're going to do a SWOT analysis, which for those that have done this before are very familiar with it. It's strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats for the county. And that'll be the last piece of the foundation before we next session get into building actions, strategic plans. Once you understand the SWOT analysis.
Are you always so neat?
I was impressed. Oh,
I'm an engineer, like that. Everything in its place. Yeah. Just like it. Let's see, okay, SWOT, let's try with strengths first. Strengths, sense of community.
Yeah. Manageable population, only 29,000 people, it's not like it's overwhelming.
Population.
A rural character landscape.
See, this stuff's going a lot faster. You guys have been exercising those muscles. This is great stuff. Community, sense of community, and population growth. What are the strengths? What if I'm thinking about moving to Powhatan, my business, or let's say, what's so good about Powhatan? What's so good about
The schools, you know, we said that one before. Small government. So,
It's pretty, it's cute. Really is pretty good.
Thanks.
Location.
Geography. Favorable location. Okay. Not to,
On the correct side of the river.
I believe make it. I don't know why. Which one?
Mathematics. I'm being inclusive.
We're gonna get the non-inclusive later. And not to do an assist here, but you can see where we're going with this. For identifying service gaps and where you need to direct resources as you go through a budget allocation process. You probably don't need to spend as much resources here trying to improve these things. You can leverage them for community development and attract, but as far as dedicating additional resources or shifting your weight, maybe there's other areas. But so it helps to identify the strengths to say, okay, we're strong here, this is maintenance happening. We need to keep it strong.
So we don't have to give the schools any more money, is what you go?
Keep the school strong. And if it means giving more money to keep it strong, you have just more students, or, you know, but the idea is, if this is already in good shape, and there are areas that are not as in good shape, then it's a relativistic kind of thing. So anyway, other strengths before we leave strengths?
No people,
Sorry?
no people.
Is favorable tax environment too broad for that, or is it just specific no people? So just leave it there. We review your overall.
Well, it depends, I mean, 'cause if you do favorable tax and you get into a tax rate in the county, which I don't consider, you know, to be particularly advantageous.
Cost of doing business, measured over here, in the W, the total cost of doing business. But specifically, its strength and attractiveness would be no people. Is that, where's it at?
Well, I think that's an incentive for economic development,
Then an opportunity.
opportunity. So I'm doing I'm just saying another way, you could put it as a, you know,
No people taxes is a strength, it's an attractiveness aspect. Other strengths?
I think it's a strength now because relatively speaking, we don't have a lot of traffic. I mean, our transportation's a problem, but if you're coming from Northern Virginia, you're a business up there and you wanted to relocate down here, you would say, oh my God, it's horrible, we can't come there. But
How
it's also
how about Route 60 west in the AM?
yeah,
It's
it's on the outside, there's.
underutilized resource.
Yeah, it's.
All the traffic is on the east
West,
side,
yeah.
there's nobody coming west. And so that is, so for a reverse commute, you have business, you're getting people here. Innsbruck was built on the concept of Broad Street was only going out, or in, not out.
Right, that's true. Yeah.
So Route 60 eastbound in the AM is an underutilized resource.
West.
Westbound.
Yeah, westbound.
So you have selective excess capacity. Transportation capacity overall. So certain places at certain times, you have selective unused or underutilized capacity. Okay? Is that running too far? I don't want to. I don't want to get too granular in this. This is trying to keep it. So one of your strengths is you have unused capacity. Certain places, certain. if that's.
No, we have historical resources here in the county. I think all that was the strength.
Heritage. Engaged citizenry. That's what citizens are.
Yeah, that's what the people.
There you go.
The village, I think the village, it's a diamond in the not quite rough, but it to use some polishing up, but it's a strength for us.
State park.
Absolutely. World-class golf course at the Independence Center.
That Parks and Rec, their strengths or
No, that's a
That's
stretch.
not part of the
State
park.
park.
state parks.
It's a state and state park.
So you don't want to get too granular and say, you know, this particular location, this particular business is county.
No, we have a state park as a biggie for us.
You got it right here.
It's a regional gym.
Virginia State
And the
Park.
other thing is we've got a world-class golf course at the Independence Center.
We just got waiting.
And
Okay. We'll, let you think of anything else you can. This doesn't need to be exhaustive and you can always add to it. Anything else?
Yeah, I like it at the end of the sales time. But equestrian.
we don't-
We have a lot of horse people, we have a lot, you know, the part of it,
Equestrian, farm, like equestrian.
property.
Yeah.
Kind of like you over in Goochland, we probably have as many horses as we got people, but they don't do a census. I mean, really, truly, we have a lot of horses and horse facilities in our county.
We, had more horses as children K through 12. I verified that. I didn't go through the population group, but you're quite well taken. There's a lot of, so we actually have some of it. I don't know if it's concentrated anywhere, if it's completely scattered, but we have an area that we, on our comp plan, this is equestrian friendly. If you come inside here, it's got to support equestrian activities. So if you.
But our ordinance actually allows, like in subdivisions, you know, and there are subdivisions like over in Goldwood Creek where we have horses.
Equestrian, what do you call it, equestrian industry, equestrian?
Yeah.
Is it more recreational or is it industry, is it
Recreational.
business?
I mean, they ride.
So the equine business, and we have 4 covered rings.
Right.
I mean, we have all the dimensions.
Okay, we call it equestrian,
Equestrian friendly.
friendly. And that can be things like, CTE, career technical education, having a farrier's course or something like that, because it's a dying, not against, it's a dying, potential of that. Other,
Rivers, actions.
Yeah, I was gonna say the same thing. We have, you know, access to the James River and to the Appomattox. They'll let you.
We do.
We don't have access to that.
We don't have
As soon as I
access,
said it, I said they'll let you.
And we've got, we do points, we get
Oh, we got the state park.
State park, you do.
And then we got Maidens.
names in the.
Then we got, Clyde.
So 3 ways we get to the James.
okay, river access is a clear strength.
Yeah.
We could group some of this under recreation or whatever, but the idea is you have parks, you have equestrian, you have river access, you have golf course, you know,
Access to higher education. You know, our location gives us access to J. Sargent Mills Community College and John Tyler, VCU. We're located such that we advertise that, you know, just like y'all do.
access,
Educational events, educational opportunities in proximity to the county.
advanced, educational.
Well, we have a point here where we're improving the trade component of our high school. We have a point here where that is robust enough.
Vocational part.
The vocational part of the high school. I'm talking to work.
Yes. Sure. Take person. Just knock something off the table. The microphone's in. Guess that's okay, right?
Yeah, now they can hear us.
Nobody else.
Be careful, you're about to get it.
Okay, other things, countywide, big picture,
Opportunities for, hunting and fishing in Powhatan County, which are recognized rights under the Virginia Constitution. Or traditions under the Virginia Constitution.
hunting and outdoor fishing.
Yeah, outdoor activities, we have wildlife preserve.
Outdoor, so again, it could be kayaking, that's only, it could be, and we'll see how many of these survive the jungle. So other things. No pressure. Good, well, let's, I'm almost out of paper here, so let's time to shift. And I'll give you some time to think. The next one is going to be weaknesses, and that's an important one, obviously. And sometimes you get a little uneasy, you know, we don't have any. No, here's your weakness, your blind spots, right? So, usually you're not in a hurry to advertise, but the first step is saying, you know, I'm Powhatan, and I have weaknesses. And
I would say the challenge is, we're definitely challenged with our roads in Powhatan County.
Transportation, yeah, no access.
Yeah, we don't have any rapid bus system or anything like that into Richmond or into jobs in Rockwell, Chesterfield. So we have to depend on the roads that we've got in the county today, and we have to be the ones that have to look to be able to maintain and not overburden. That's gonna be a challenge.
yeah, I like your idea. This is what we, this is a challenge to be overcome. So your transportation, clearly, all the regional counties, there clearly is going to be a challenge, especially as it's growing.
And Ken, with our 6-year funds, we're not gonna have enough, in there to fix, the alignment of these roads. No roads in Powhatan County go in at a 90-degree angle. That's the definition of a rural county. All of them come in at a 45-degree angle. And where are we gonna get the money to fix that? When the 6-year funds in Powhatan is less than $100,000 a year.
Secondary 6-year money isn't going to get there.
It's not gonna do it.
92.8
Yep.
So,
or 92.8 on imbalance.
Residential, commercial imbalance of 92.8.
the tax rate,
Broadband.
Yeah.
It's amazing coming from your future Powhatan goals, vision. Having broadband, better balance. What else, what are the challenges? These are the things that are going to make it difficult for you to realize that vision. You see, you need to plan for more, overcome.
That ratio,
Long-term water supply.
that ratio, that.
These are impediments to your realizing your vision. Then, water sewer infrastructure. These are things that you'll focus on and dedicate resources toward and try to overcome to realize your vision.
Challenges would be the absence of a ready supply of water and sewer east of 288.
Water and sewer,
On
just
South Eleven.
is that the only place?
and on 60,
Well,
and on 60 for long term.
Well, 60, is, we're talking long-term water supply, but more immediate in front of us is the situation where we don't have anything right now east of 288 from right 711 that we can utilize for water or sewer. Now, we're working in the development of that today, but the issue is there is no sewer capacity in Richmond. And what is being used with Winterfield 2 will use up the allocated sewer capacity that we have down there. So the challenge going for us going forward is to be able to provide water and sewer to economic development down there, which is the garden spot for economic development
Right.
on the James River, to bring forward economic development.
Don't have like pads ready for businesses to move into. Don't have any really buildings, you know, the company wants to come in, do very few.
We don't have any industrial property, hardly.
Yeah,
Well, there's been a lot of demand for light industrial buildings.
that's what I mean, we don't have,
Yeah, that's,
you know, a lot of businesses don't want to have to
they don't
build.
want to build
They don't want to build, they want to go into a metal building or whatever with 40,000
an
square
existing
feet.
building
Yeah.
that's already vacated.
Don't have it.
Limited supply of building spec space.
Yeah.
That's, you know, ready to go. I don't want to do greenfield, I want to move into existing, get a little bit of supply of existing. Okay,
We don't have an economic development, commercial economic development plan.
LED plan, we have our own plan.
Economic development. Yes.
I mean, economic development, dedicating resources to economic development to be a variety of different things. Developing a plan, staffing, brochures, website, we're gonna, yes, we've got some, but the idea is in a plan.
Well, let me go with Jill's step forward. Karen was at a meeting with Liz Pobar and her group, and they brought forward, you know, the economic development component of the contract. Previous to that, the county had done the economic development plan with Faith McClintock and what was it, the Spectrum Group, which included Bowman Consulting. In between those two plans, we still don't know what is it we're best qualified for in Powhatan County. Now, the three things that were recited, you know, at that meeting at the Independence Center, left members of the EDA, I remember, scratching their head because there was no agreement of where these three things came from.
For instance, one of them was technology, so we don't really have robust
Healthcare was the other one.
healthcare and
the third
agri, like tourism, which you don't really, how you gonna really bring cash revenue.
Cash revenue.
That's
So-
sort of-
Members of the EDA were even there going, I'm not sure where that came from, okay? So if you don't know where you are, how can you plan for where you're going? So we need to be clear about what is it that we're best qualified here in Powhatan County, given our position with the rest of the region, the state, and the world, that we're qualified for, or best suited for economic development.
That's an absolute right spot on comment. Because part of this exercise, strengths challenges, you've got natural strengths. The easiest way is incrementally build off those natural strengths because you're not sailing so much stream, you're going with the flow, if you will. You might have a critical mass already, you might have a cluster already that you could just expand. I mean, so the businesses that already came here for a reason. Whatever they saw, the next business might see the same things. So it's much easier to stick close to what you've already got to build that app down. That may or may not be the kind of thing you want going forward. And you can say, yeah, but I really want this. But if you put that in the context of this is going to drive that away or never realize it, or you don't have this natural strength to attract that, then you're really trying to push the string uphill and it's just, you know. So it's a thought process you need to go through to say, what kind of businesses do we want? What would it take to attract them? Are we willing and able, or able, to be able to provide what it would take to attract them? And some of them may be a heavy lift, some may be an easier lift, incremental, so maybe if, you know, we decide we want to be part of a new research track, or we want to do, that's a heavier lift. Then saying we already have a cluster of certain things that we can build off of that strength. Those are kind of discussions that you'll need to have among yourselves as citizens to say, okay, for economic, but to your point, you don't have a plan that takes into account your strengths and weaknesses and says this is realistic or achievable, or, you know, we can do this because we have what it takes. if you don't have that plan, then if you're going one-off for a one-off shot and it doesn't fit the plan or it doesn't play off your strengths or it's gonna stop because of your weaknesses, then you're kind of wasting your time. But having a plan that's implementable, that makes sense to go forward, absolutely spot on. You gotta have-
We've seen the expansion of some of our businesses here in the county through the business retention and expansion. And one of the great examples is what Lisa and Tim have done down the mill. You know, now we have the brewery down there where folks, you know, in the other part of District 1 come from the boundary to come out to have, you know, events, to partake in the craft beers and food that's offered. So that is a win, you know, what they've done down there with the expansion.
Sure. Yeah, that gets back to, if we realistically are gonna be able to attract these, what does it take? And for instance, one of the larger employers in the area, Cap One, is having a really difficult time attracting millennials down to this part of Virginia because they feel like you go off the sidewalks at 7 p.m. and there's no nightlife. And they end up going back up to DC to their headquarters for the weekend. They go to Georgetown, you know. So this is the rural, and they have a difficult time attracting a lot of younger folks that want younger activities, that want nightlife, that want, you know, not the peace and quiet and tranquility. So as you start to think about, you know, what industries to target or what businesses to target, or what, you kind of have to put it all in the perspective here. What are the types of things?
I think another challenge is like the death of retail. I mean, and that's heavy ubiquitous everywhere, you know, but it's especially for us on 60. You know, we're not gonna get a lot of small retail.
Well, you're not, you know, the day is on where you're seeing these mega shopping centers come in, you know. Going back to Bill and I have had this conversation with Sidney Goods. The reason he's redoing Innsbrook is because he had one of his major customers, an accounting firm, move into the city. And so when Sidney was asking about that, he said, the young accountants, they want to be downtown. Yeah. So put your, you know, rural road 60. So if we would follow some of the arguments, say, well, the young people, they want this, and so we need to put in this type of, you know, development for the millennials. You know, my personal point of view is, you know, when I came back from Vietnam and I was going to VCU, I didn't want to be in Powhatan County. I wanted to be in the fan down at the bottom. I wanted to be with other young people.
So as you think about what the implications are for Powhatan, what kind of businesses should be able to attract, what kind of workforce, what kind of, think about putting in the context of, we want to keep the rural nature, the peaceful, the quiet, and it doesn't really play into the young, active, could be the outdoorsy type, could be the grain and whatnot, people maybe want to get back out of the city, quiet, peaceful environment.
I think the trend is like, I think Bill or Mike, somebody said before, the trend is going back in. It's not going out in these suburban developments and leapfrogging out like what Chesterfield saw back 64, 63 with Randall.
You're absolutely right. I think for multiple communities, one of the ways that, you know, Cap One try to do this is in our walkable community where you can live, work, and play, whether a walk or a bike ride. There's, you know, a craft brewery nearby. There's some higher density living options. So that they, in order to attract and retain millennials, they had to go. But anyway, something for you to think about when you put together an economic development plan is, you know, if our plan is to attract, you know, a bunch of millennials in a high-tech rural area, you just think about what your natural, go back to your natural strengths and your, what makes you unique. I mean, go back to these things and say, are these worth preserving? If they are, then we need to attract businesses that fit in, not fight for this kind of a, just big picture type thing here. Get into the details later, we'll do the actual plan and goals and objectives. Okay, challenge, you have limited access to retail. If you want a gallon of milk or a gallon of gas, you have to go some. If you want Starbucks, a cup of coffee, you have to go some. There's that a challenge. What else? All right, since we're running a little short on time, we'll call it quits so we can answer that later. The next one is opportunities. We'll do opportunities and then threats. And then I think we're going to call it a day. Your opportunities and threats. Start thinking about what opportunities Palatine has going forward. Put out a wall space that call for you.
It's fine.
I would say one
I
of
got
the
this wall right here,
biggest,
so we have plenty of room.
I'd say one of the biggest opportunities that we have is to do something special here in Palatine County. One of the things, I've had discussions with each of you, I've always heard, the mantra, well, David, it's going to happen. And if you want to get me upset, say that to me, because, we have the tools. If General Assembly has given us a tool that we need to be able to have the kind of development that we want in this county. It's not a fait of conflict. Now, do we have the political will to use the tools? That's always been the question in every developing community. And you see that argument go back and forth up in Northern Virginia where you get into the Flood Development Board, and then they get replaced by going back to your roots. And this is the history of Loudoun County. So the opportunity that we have is to really say what we mean and mean what we say. And if we want to keep the rural character, if we want to, really embrace a different lifestyle than Chesterfield and not become Chesterfield, we can truly learn from the mistakes that have happened to the east. You've heard me say this down at PDC. One of the great opportunities we have on Road 60 is to look at what happened on Road 60 in Richmond, what happened in Chesterfield, coming Bell Boulevard, coming to Cloverleaf Mall, then Chesterfield Mall, and now out to, Palatine County. Look at the mistakes that they made, particularly in Chesterfield with access management there at Chesterfield Mall, where the state actually used a picture of those stoplights to push through the access management regulations back in 2007. So we don't have to reinvent the wheel. All the thing we have to do is look to the east and say, do we want to make the same mistakes that they made? And the answer is we don't.
So they don't have to.
We don't have to.
Learn the easy way, than the hard way. So I think one of your greatest opportunities in Palatine is your county is largely rural right now. It's a clean slate. The future hasn't been written yet. And it's up to this group and the following groups to write the county's future because it's a clean slate. You're starting with a blank slate right now. So that's a great opportunity to do it right. So I don't know how you want to phrase that up here as an opportunity, but I mean, the future is yet to be written for the county, and it's not like you're fully developed now. What do I do now? Like Chesterfield, you've seen some of the larger applications for market development, industrial type things. There's residences all around it, so they always get shut down because they built so many rooftops that what's left, they have a hard time fitting in anything that's commercial or retail because it's going to affect nearby neighbors. So they've already gotten to that point where they're so developed that they're having trouble with the balance growth because they didn't start out that way. You guys are starting out at the beginning line, you haven't done anything yet, so this is a perfect time for you guys to get involved.
And a little more backward kind of way, our transportation system, essentially is going to give us an opportunity. The port, Chesterfield County, is putting in Route 60 on their side of 288. It's simply not going to allow for any movement at all. We don't have the same, we may think we have congestion, but nothing like this. And we have some counter time opportunities where we can do something. So our transportation system on 60, as long as keep all those houses off of it and all the cars that go with it, gives us an opportunity for some businesses that are going to want to leave Chesterfield County.
They would rather go out of Palatine County to go service their customers than to try to get out of Chesterfield County where they're at today. And I've actually had that told by somebody here in the county that's in business.
And so
Chesterfield County has provided us with an opportunity with their conjunction.
Yes.
So you're relatively more attractive. The relative attractiveness of your Powhatan versus your neighbors. To the west.
Except for one to the north.
I was trying to figure out how to say that gracefully, but thank you. Say versus.
Ours,
I'm gonna name any names. Sorry, go ahead, I'm sorry.
our 7-Eleven, okay, 288 East Corridor has one major landowner. That's a real opportunity.
Okay, so,
Terry Pruitt owns three corners.
concentration of ownership. Ownership.
Connie got.
Concentration of land ownership, so it'd be.
So if we can reach a deal, and if those reaching a deal with 5 people, one person,
Sure, not simple, not easy.
maybe it's easier.
Not simple.
Maybe because of how well you know Terry.
Less complicated.
So, I'm sorry. I mean,
I haven't heard from this side.
take me back to number one. What you heard from a business owner, and what's the opportunity that we're speaking of, relative attractive? What's the opportunity that you guys see, feel, hear, think?
Transportation. Classic Glen will be able to move their trucks in and out, whereas in 2 years, they're not going to be able to do that over just.
Okay, so now I'll just put it devil's advocate. Where's their customers?
They still got to get to the customers one way or the other.
Yeah, so they have to go back into Chesterfield. So let me just,
Or they have to, or they may need access to 288 to go other places in Chesterfield. We will provide better access to 288 Chesterfield. That's the argument.
okay, so I may be a couple of days behind you. My thoughts on that is, I think the opportunity that Powhatan has unquestionably is Route 60. You know me, you know I know 60 in business. But I think what I feel and see and believe is people in Chesterfield, because you got to kind of go back to those millennials. What group are we going to go after? What are we going to be? Who are we going to be? And I think that we're going to have a really strong possibility of being those people in Chesterfield who are disgruntled residentially,
So they're
coming out to Powhatan
To get away.
to get out of that. Because I think that's where we are in the future. Is our growth residentially will be from the people from Chesterfield who want the space that they feel they've gotten congested. Which coincidentally, there could be validity to those businesses that come out. So I think when we start trying to define who we are and where we're going to go, maybe we're not going to be looking for that millennial person.
we're not going to get them.
When we've been, rural is what we've heard, and what I certainly believe. I just think that, let's don't overlook the opportunity that we have residential-wise for these people to come out.
What's a continuing trend? They've been doing it for 30 years.
Well, you're exactly right. And when you talk about, what's been going on for 30 years, 92.8's been going on for 30 years too, okay? That we've heard endlessly. The transportation part of it, you guys have done this. You're the experienced people in this. I'm the new guy on the shelf over here. I'm just not understanding how we get to that point.
What's your point? Where, when you say get to that point, what's your point?
To the transportation issue, to get back on message of what he's talking about, the opportunity, I think, is residential and business.
I don't
Businesses
see
have to come,
Well, I would say
Businesses
residential is
want
an opportunity
customers.
when you got a 92.8. Why would I want to look at that as an opportunity to increase that number to a larger number and exacerbate the imbalance that we've already seen is a challenge for us.
Yeah, no, your residents, I'm, what you're speaking. And I think that with those residents that come out, we manage that growth. It's gonna come. Those people in Chesterfield are gonna do it without any doubt.
Well, the question is, Mike, of course they're gonna move here. People from Maryland are gonna still move here. We might even get some people that affect from Goochland. I don't know why. I mean, you know, that's such a-
It's hard to get them to come across that river.
But we got you.
But the whole conversation around the table has been for some time is we know we have a challenge with residential. We know we've got an imbalance that we need to be able to synchronize growth going forward such that we chip away at that 92 and try to bring that number down while we bring up the commercial. So how we do that is going to be with your future land use map, your zoning and subdivision ordinances. You know, what we think as this mosaic for the county will govern that growth. Of course we're going to do it. The question is, where are they going to come to, what parts of the county, what numbers, and how are you going to synchronize those people coming in with the ability to meet the services that we said would be challenged, that, you know, if we continue on that trend going to 92, to go to 94, to 95, how am I going to pay for it?
See,
That's the challenge.
you guys are right on one of the thornier issues, or I shouldn't say thorny, one of the conundrums that most counties have a tough time solving if they're aware of it, and if they're unconscious and unaware of it, they can get into real trouble. And that is, I need rooftops, residential, to support business, or business will come. If more rooftops come, then the existing businesses benefit. So you need rooftops to attract businesses. But if you put the rooftops up, then you overburden county services, like schools, fire rescue. So if you build the rooftops, you overwhelm services, then you need the commercial to pay for those services, but the commercial's not coming until you do the rest. You gotta put the rooftops up. Commercial.
The rooftops, rooftops will have to come first, and the businesses that they support are not producing the kind of revenue that we need to support this county. A small service, okay, burger doodle places, okay, I don't care if another burger doodle place ever shows up in this county.
Well,
I don't want the rooftops to support it.
So if you want to move the needle on a 92.8, you got to attract more aid. To attract more aid, you need more rooftops. Well, what a number of counties have been told is that businesses will come in, they'll do a circle on a map, they'll do a density, number of rooftops, average income, bang, bang, bang. They can predict what their sales are going to be.
We got 8,000 people every day leaving this county to go work someplace else. We've already got them here.
No, he's.
Everything Ken is saying is correct. If you want to get certain types of businesses, you do have to increase the rooftops. But let me say something on that. That's a circular argument.
It
Okay?
is.
Because once I start adding the residential, nobody ever talks about how much, what quantity of residential I have to add to get what type of commercial development in exchange, and what is the ratio of what it costs for community services for that unknown number of rooftops to get that commercial development of what type, and then how much does that offset the cost of community services? So it's a dog chasing its tail. And RECO thinks business first, residential second. That's the reason that they're the only locality in this region that has the 70-30 slip to 69. Dick Glover, you know, got all upset about that, you know. I said, Dick, you know, you don't have problems. So how did it work out with Chesterfield? Again, I'll go back to look at what they're doing. You know, Bill's already mentioned, you know, Midlothian. Okay, they're gonna have congestion in Midlothian. It's not gonna be anything they can do, okay? You're not gonna get through Midlothian, that's just a fact, because you're not gonna have any road widening or anything like that. Look over there at Charter Colony. You know, Mr. Winslow, who sits on the board in Chesterfield, he actually remarked at the last meeting, he says, well, I don't know why all these people are coming from Richmond to Chesterfield. And they're getting all these people from Richmond, they want to come right there, and it's the aging population. It's because Chesterfield has the development at their charter colony, the services to provide for them, okay? I'm not willing to repeat mistakes that Chesterfield has made over the years and get into that dog chase and stay on this circle argument. I can't afford it. It's Russian roulette.
This is very healthy down on the get this out of the table. Very healthy.
You won't have any trouble with this board.
Very healthy. Business first, residential first, balanced growth somewhere between. What some counties have done is they've tried to get rooftops that don't overstress county services, like age restricted. Schools are half your budget. If you get a residence, a rooftop that's age restricted, that dollar of tax revenue, instead of being split half to government, public safety, fire rescue, and half to schools, goes the entire dollar to the government side of the equation. Nursing homes, they're not driving on the roads, takes pressure off of transportation. It's more commercial because they don't own them. So I'm just throwing out, I'm brainstorming ideas where to say, okay, what is the problem?
Well, that's what people that live in Salisbury, that's what they're gonna be doing, because they're not 25 years old living in $500,000 houses.
So as you try to
That's
do,
your one that I think will come out.
as you try to
There's
do,
other types of commercial development. We have a manufacturing presence here in the county. Karen's family, runs Maslow Wood Products, okay? How many employees do you have, Karen?
About 90.
Okay, 90. We have Rapid Manufacturing. I don't know how many they've got. We've got Weight Pack. Okay, they didn't come out here because we had rooftops. You know, when your family moved from Buffalo, back when you were, how old?
13.
13. And you can picture what Powhatan, probably looked like back then. Okay, they're up there at the intersection of 522 and 711. I'm sure, your family said, well, we're going there because this is a, thriving metropolis. We've got all these rooftops. And you wouldn't even know where they're at today unless you went looking for them.
another, point well taken, the balance, which is first, which is second, they go to, another example really quickly, another county said, zero taxes for server farms. They have dozens and dozens of $50 million, $100 million service farms pop up. No transportation, no kids in school, lots of taxable bases. So my point on that, it should be challenged to think about how do we maintain our strengths, our core values, in light of the pressures that are coming in, how do we target different businesses, and it's going to depend on how you set the table, which one's going to sit down and eat, that kind of thing. We're not going to stop that today. Very healthy dialogue. Sounds like everybody's got a lot of opinions on that. And you all should at least know where each of you are coming from, just so you're better informed. Maybe that's part of what tonight did. Already the extra innings, I'm afraid I won't get invited back if I go throw it on forever and ever. So I'm just going to call it to a close and just kind of summarize where we've been. I think this has been a great session where we've developed a firm foundation and a broader understanding, a deeper understanding of strengths and weaknesses, opportunities, vision statement. We've got the foundation laid now, I think, to start building a strategic plan. And that's going to have goals. It's going to have objectives on how to accomplish those goals. And in measurements, interim measures. If you do the interim measures, make adjustments, accomplish those objectives, meet those goals, that would lead the county to realizing its vision. That's how it all ties together. So next time, bring your strategic planning hat and we'll tackle the specific goals and objectives and measurement areas inside strategic plan. With that, let me just open up any last questions that you might have for me, or
Thank you. Thank you.
it's just been helpful.
Thank you very much.
You guys probably would have done this on your own anyway, but
So I'm going to have to get us back into a regular meeting form to reconvene us, and at this point, we'll have our second public comment here. Anybody wishing to come forward, name and address, and your comments for 5 minutes, and speak for 3 minutes, and you speak for 5 minutes. Mr. Jones,
David,
please give your name and address.
Dan Jones, 3901 Old River Trail, Powhatan.
I'm here representing the EDA, and I'm a resident of District 5. I'd like to make one comment, picking up on primarily what David said. You do not need rooftops to attract, I think our future out here in terms of our economic base is warehousing, distribution, light industrial, call centers, and two prime examples, classic granite and marble is moving here. You don't need rooftops to attract a business like that. The Michelin call center is expanding. You don't need rooftops to attract. That's the sort of thing we need. If you want more restaurants, fast food restaurants, and that sort of thing out there on 60, you need rooftops. And so I think your point is well taken, Dave. Really good. With that, I congratulate the board on going through this exercise. I'd like to make one comment. I've been involved in this for directly and indirectly for about 30 years. And I will say that the cycle repeats itself. I've been through a number of these, and this is I congratulate the board on doing this, but most of this is the same sort of thing that we were wrestling with 10 years ago, 20 years ago. Spoken about peace.
Thank you, Mr. Jones. Okay. With that, we'll adjourn this meeting. Thank you, guys.
Oh, no, I